Hello, everyone. We here with Swim or Sink 186. We're not late. You're late. 100%. It's fine. I'm part two, and I'm joined with joined by IMAD. Hello.
Hello, and welcome to this SOS 186. I swear, every time I see the numbers, like, how did it get so big? Like, it's insane. So many
I mean,
SOSs.
you're consistently doing putting on like a near weekly for how long has it been now? Like 186 of them. That's several years of SOS at this point. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be continuing on with this one. 186, going to be starting this off with Requiem versus 88 Star Lines. I don't know how I'm going to pronounce that one. I'm just going to go with 88. How are you
I was
feeling
gonna say,
about these guys?
well, I'm excited to see what they have in store. We were just taking a look at the maps that were coming up earlier, and I know we're starting off with that museum on zones. Always a fun time to be seeing museum on zones. Oh gosh, all these maps. We're gonna see. So a lot of these maps here are gonna be pretty spacious. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, I don't know, some sort of aggressive weapon, some sort of flanker weapon, just trying to get around, get underneath those ledges. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the players of these teams, but it's like I'm familiar with the maps. So it's like, okay, what craziness are we going to be seeing in this first round?
If I'm going to put my money on anything, I am like these feel like the kinds of maps that I would run into a bunch of chargers in solo queue.
Mm,
Especially museum zones. That always just kind of feels like one of the quintessential e-leader, like solo queue e-leader maps. So I'm kind of
mm-hmm.
feeling like pencil you might be your cooler option to like go with. Maybe you pick the e-leader, or heck, maybe you go with ZF charger. Who knows? It's SOS. Anything can happen.
Exactly, and you were just telling me that you were playing some ZFNF charger lately, and I agree. Like especially for a museum, e-leader, or even a pencil, a ZNF chargers, all those like long range anchors just kind of allow for a lot of space, a lot of uh, freedom for the other team to kind of just move around and without, because it just puts so much pressure on the other team. They can't really step off, especially when you have a really good backline like that. Just is really difficult for them to push out without some sort of special coordination.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that on the Splat Zones configuration in particular, the only way to get up to the plat area is through the spinner in mid. So it
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a bit difficult for the enemy team to try and get an aggressive push before a fight is won in the mid area. So the backlines are able to stay relatively safe so long as they can stay safe from the ilk of like rollers, blasters, and chargers. You know, not chargers,
Mm-hmm.
rollers, blasters, buckets.
No, exactly. I think all, especially the buckos in particular, because you can't get up with, you essentially have to have either some sort of booyah bomb or strike, or just a wipeout to be able to take the spinner on plat. Having that slosher or any sort of like AoE weapon underneath that ledge is just so um, powerful. It is so hard. I've seen it so many times where it's just a roller, even a roller on that right side, just the way they're able to flick up is like it just completely denies all that left side of spinner, so it funnels the rest of the team down into a kind of a tight group.
Yeah, absolutely. Could also end up seeing a Zuka weapon, but we're going to find out right now as the teams are loading in. We're seeing a Inkling Tri-Stringer with double swords versus a pencil, and a looks like a midline comp focused on 96 Deco as well as a blaster. What do you got on this one, IMAD?
Oh gosh, the first of all, I just want to, with the bow on that side, like not only are you going to have a lot of kind of arcing, be able to deal with some of those weapons that we were just talking about on the ledges, but they're also going to be running no cooler, which is surprising considering they have the brush wiper combo. Like both of those are going to want to be very aggressive, very in your face, so they're not going to have that kind of backup option. But is going to be like, they already have this first zone pick, and they're just keeping 88 at bay. Like we do see the Kraken coming out, but you know they're just trying to find space, and it's just the 96 left.
Yeah, very good opening push from Requiem right now to get control. Not quite having the zone at the moment, but this 96 gal is just absolutely cornered right now. Teammate going to end up picking up the brush, and the 96 is able to clean up the wiper right afterwards, putting 88 in a very good position now to strike back, having to dodge these ink strikes, and now putting a lot of pressure onto that tri-stringer.
Yeah, we saw the 96. Like it's been able to survive for so long, and now is going to be pushing the 3 down, pushing the boat all the way back. That range and that splash wall just doing such a good job at even just stalling so the rest of the team could get back. And now they're going to be pushing the lead. And you know they were able to get that wipe out and that nice booyah bomb to get onto the plat. So with the 96 right there, that's going to be so much space that 88 is going to have to fight to take back. And they are already 3 down once again.
Yeah, there's a lot of possible pain output coming out from 88, but Requiem is just able to completely shut them down. The pencil getting a really good pick onto the bow earlier. Stamper now going down as well. This is just going to be a really oppressive-looking situation. The brush managing to get onto a flank, managing to displace some of the teammates, but not finding any picks. Chumps coming down. There's going to be 3 down on the side of 88, and I think that's going to wrap up game number 1 with a KO for Requiem.
Dang, 88 had a really good opening there. They were able to just put on a lot of pressure to Requiem, but I think that one of the things that kind of put 88 at the disadvantage was like they were a really good sprint comp, but they weren't a good marathon comp. So once they, like just the 96 being the last one alive, was able to take down half the team, and once they had that foothold, just Requiem was able to just dig their heels in and just keep a lot of space. And I think just 88, they didn't have really a way to get back in. They didn't have kind of a game plan once they were on that back foot, and so it just continued to stalemate until we saw Requiem get the KO.
Yeah, just thinking back about that comp, you had the super chump from the tri-stringer, as well as you had Stamp, Whale, and Zipcaster. I think those aren't necessarily the best entry tools that you could have on a coolerless comp, but I definitely saw the vision of just having like a couple of weapons that are able to just kind of dance around everywhere while the tri-stringer is just putting out as much pain as it possibly can. But it doesn't quite end up coming together here. I feel like there might be a bit of an adjustment going into Rainmaker's Scorch, but I don't know. It's hard to say because it's a team comp that I'm not as familiar with, despite the fact that I have played a lot of tri-stringer myself.
See, whenever I see a stringer in play and then I see the next mode as Rainmaker, my first thought is like, oh, there's a good chance they're gonna swap to the well string just because of just the amount of object damage it's got on it. It just is so powerful for you, pretty much guaranteed to win Rainmaker pop. But at the same time, it's like you still have some pretty good object damage with the regular bow, and it is Scorched Gorge, which really does, like we were talking before, is a great leader map, it's a great pencil map, but it also is a great bow map just because of that range advantage also plays into the bow. And so I feel like they could go either way. They could swap to the well string, but I think like with the double sword comp, they almost don't even need to, just because they already have so much object damage on its own. I think the only kind of wild card for me is that brush that they have. Like usually when you see a brush, they tend to be a more dedicated main of that, but you know, Museum was the perfect place because of the amount of routes you could take to get back to mid, but you know, with how opening Scorch is, will they stick with the brush?
We're gonna find out right now. Loading in, it looks like we've got a vanilla tri-stringer and decaf for the mix-up here. Meanwhile, we are seeing the exact same comp coming out of Requiem. So 88 has decided to change things up, running double whale, bubble, and a hammer for their specials. Going to see how that ends up playing out as we go into the mid-fight.
I know. Oh my gosh, double whale. Now that is a crazy comp. It is, especially when you have both of them online, or even just able to chain them. They can be quite devastating here. But I think like something to watch out for is Requiem did swap their shot player to the dually set, which is going to give them Crab. And I think as we're talking about the range, just Crab is also a very powerful special, and that's especially on the offensive when you're trying to set it up. I think if they're able to get on that snipe, they could really push the Rainmaker far.
potentially. It looks like this fight is kind of scrappy at the moment. A lot of people getting like mixed around right now. So it's looking like 88 is now going to come up the ramp and rush down the brush. Going to be able to get the Decapitator in a good position. No bubble charge, but there's going to be pressure applied. And now 88 is looking pretty good, looking to try and get this first checkpoint, but the Kraken going to snipe it before it's able to do, and now with a complete wipeout, Requiem is now in the driver's seat.
I was just about to say that, you know, 88 is going to be having a lot of chip damage, a lot of combo potential on there, but then we see the Kraken come in and just clean up all on his own. Some is like, we don't need no teammate, we're just going to stop us right here. And so this is kind of what we saw in the last match. Like, we saw 88 get the early kind of lead, but then as soon as Requiem came back with the space, it's like they just do such a good job of keeping that space that they take back.
It's going to be a question of how much can these whales do, but now another Kraken coming out, getting one, looking for a second one on the Decapitator right now, looking like they might get away. No, just barely going to get hit by the rush, by the last jump frame, and now like the Gal is just kind of in this position, just putting so much pressure onto 88 right now, getting another pick. This Gal is going on a complete rampage, getting another one before finally going down, buying so much space, but the Rainmaker only just got picked up, and it's looking like they're just going to sprint to 42. A pretty good push, but not insurmountable, especially now that Requiem's gone 3 down.
That's going to be huge for 88 right here, just being able to take the wipeout like that. That's going to allow their aggro weapons to really push out fast. We saw the brush is already on the pedestal, getting a nice splat on the dualies here, and the Decap going to be following up, and if they can get that bubble popped, they don't even need it here. Going to be getting the checkpoint, and if the bubble does get deployed here, and it's going to be quite a lot of space and a lot of points for 88. Going to be taking to 35. Going to be having 2 down. A lot of object damage though, so they might be able to get the pop. And we're seeing Bloom here on the decap just keeping a lot of space and allowing their teammates to jump back in.
Giving 88 so much time right now in order to get back into a decap, trying to get a pick onto the dually right now. Not quite able to find it. Going to go down themselves. Cooler and a Crab now about to come out for Requiem. Going to try and see if they can't push everyone out with that, but someone managed to snatch the Rainmaker and get it all the way to 11 while the Crab was out. It's looking like 88 is going to wipe out here, but Requiem is now fighting a very big uphill battle, having to climb all the way to 11 in order to swap the lead back.
Gosh, and on this map, 11 is you essentially have to get a KO to get the lead. But we're going to be seeing Requiem. They're going to be setting up nicely right here. Just the one thing they have to watch out for is with the bow still alive, that they can just really lock down that gauntlet. Just the amount of chip and projectile damage they're going to be doing here. Just it's going to be incredibly tough, but they're going to be absolutely jumped by the 2 swords right here. Just to do something. They're going to pop Crab here, just try to keep some space. Whale is going to be on them. Jumps are going to be coming in. We'll see if they're going to be able to keep the space, and they are getting a nice splat on the swiper there. Like, they aren't able to get the pop just yet, but they are able to keep it where it is.
Requiem keeping this push alive as long as possible. The Tri-Stringer doing its best to like zone them out, both with its AoE shots as well as the toxic mist from the vanilla kit. And there's close to another Crab on the side of Requiem, and it looks like they're going to try and use it to push through right now. Now with Whales coming out in response and a Kraken going out and getting the Tri-Stringer as well as the brush, it's looking like the Rainmaker is going to be able to take the lead back and even get a KO. Requiem going up 2-0 and able to take the set.
Nicely done. I feel like popping the Kraken right there, that was like the one thing that was going to be able to break through that channel right there without getting splatted. They were able to take down the bow, which was giving them all that trouble, and then taking out the brush as well with the splashdown ready to go there. Let's just pick up the Rainmaker and run straight for the pedestal, getting that nice KO, and going to be taking a nice 2-0 for this set. I feel like the Kraken, was so paramount for a lot of those plays.
Yeah, absolutely. The 96 and its Kraken ended up causing so many problems for 88. That being said, they did manage to slow everything down from Requiem in that game too, with the adjustment to the Tri-Stringer, the vanilla Tri-Stringer, having that access to that toxic mist as well as the second whale did give them a bit of more staying power against the and just more ability to poke. at Requiem, but it just wasn't quite enough. They did get a really good push, but unfortunately that Kraken is a very, very good stall breaker.
Absolutely. I think what was going for 88 in the last match was just because they had a lot of fast weapons, they were able to kind of juke around Requiem in that last push. They were able to sneak behind to grab the Rainmaker before they even nosed it. But I think, like, as we're talking about just overall map presence, Requiem just had a lot of good map presence, was able to, even when they went 3 down, just the fact that that dually stayed alive to pop Crab meant that that push didn't die. It kept on going, and that was able to snowball right up until that last KO that we saw.
The dualies even showing some good presence of mind to dodge the hammer that was thrown at them right at the end of their crab, so they were able to keep their numbers up for that push and eventually get a second crab ready. Honestly, just very well executed from Requiem overall.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, if I do remember correctly, it is going to be best of 3, so Requiem taking that 2-0 and going to be taking the set. No game 3, but before we go to the break for our next set, I do believe that we have some advertisements for the LAN Champion Showdown that we were supposed to talk about.
Yes, indeed. So for LAN Champions Showdown, we are talking 8 LANs, 8 champions, 1 showdown. We've got 8 featured teams: My Little Henlo, Prickly Pear, Octoputties. That one's not happening from my
I know.
from my
I
mouth.
was looking
I'm
at that
sorry.
before we started, and just, oh man.
Octoputties. I think that's what they're trying to do. Glub Glub, No Boys Loud, Z tier players, Seeker got kicked out, and Sea Bubbles from all these various lands: Gatorland, Sunset Surge, Chisholes, Big Dapple, Booyah Bay, New Inkland, H-Town Splashdown, and Sea Battle.
Love to see the representation. I remember, like, this gives me a lot of vibes from the state showdown we had a while back, where we had teams from each state represented in a huge championship tournament. But this will be fantastic because a lot of these teams, like, they've been able to get together, they've been able to meet each other in person and like fight for their spot on this tournament in their own little local land. So it's been fantastic to see them fight it out. But the final showdown for these 8 teams is going to be April 27th of this year, 4 p.m. PST and 7 p.m. EST on the Splatoon tourney. So you're not going to want to miss that.
No, not at all. I will put my biases front and center as someone who just attended Chisholes literally last week. I've got my horse in that race in particular. That was a really fun time. If any of y'all have a Splatoon land near you, y'all should go check it out. It is an amazing time.
Absolutely, I concur. But in the meantime, we're going to be taking a short break as we set up our next round. So stay hydrated, stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to SOS 186. It is I, Mad Game II, and I'm joined once again by part 2 in this round 2.
Number two is very prominent around me, as it turns out. As we are in round two, we're going to be seeing Magic Beans versus Coyotes All Stars. Do we have any familiar players on either of these teams for you, or are we just kind of going blind just like last time?
I was gonna say Coyote All Stars. We got Sunday over there. Good friend, and also a member of Time to Win, one of our arch rivals. So I know that they are an anchor player. They've traditionally have played, what was it, Jet Squelcher, but I think recently they swapped to the edit main for cooler. So we could be seeing a bit of both. But either way, we're going to be seeing some good backline action going from Coyote All Stars.
I wonder which one is going to end up being favored, because we're going on to Mahi Mahi Resort, a much smaller, much more claustrophobic map, especially in the first half of the game, before the 60-point mark ends up dropping the water level. I have a feeling that this is probably going to be a very action-packed set, especially when I see what's on the horizon with Undertow and Inkblot.
It is going to be Undertow and Inkblot, but I think that first map is supposed to be Makomar Zones.
Oh, is it supposed to be Mako Mart? Whoops. Well, yeah, it's Mako Mart. Okay.
But Magic Beans, I have actually, now that I've seen them, I've run into them in open a couple of times. I'm pretty sure I saw them warming up earlier. So we're going to be seeing a little bit of a standard comp, with the exception of that Carbon Roller. Carbon Roller absolutely going to be going crazy, though crazy is on the S-Blast. Mako Zones does favor those kind of sharky weapons, those tight fights, and just short-range weapons. But we're going to be seeing kind of just a playing it safe, playing for zone, but we're going to be seeing the S-Blast taking out the range blaster here. Going to be getting the first splat. I think there's a Dread Ringer trying to sneak around from the side.
Trying to sneak, but like not quite going to be able to find anything. 3 down on the side of Coyote. All-Star Magic Beam going to be able to take the zone and use Cooler to put on a lot of pressure onto Coyote All-Star, and it's going to be looking like a pretty solid hold, unless with that Zuka threatening, as well as a Booyah Bomb on the horizon.
Booyah Bomb and Zuka are online, but they honestly, oh, never mind. Suction Bomb going to be coming in, taking out that Booyah Bomb, but just the Carbon Roller still able to lock the thing down. This is exactly where you want that Carbon Roller to be. It's going to be tough to break back down without having to run into them. We still see the Zuka online for Magic Beans here, ready to rock and roll, and just continuing to pick off Coyote All-Stars. Keep them at a nice stagger as the points are taken down for Magic Beans. And just so far, they have not been able to move Dementor over there. And they are in a bit of a stalemate, not able to break back in the zone.
It's looking like it might actually be over unless this Dreadringer can suddenly get the zone under control, but looks like it's not going to happen all by themselves. And with an absolutely commanding stagger on the courtesy of the S-Blast and the Carbon Roller, that's going to be a complete one-sided knockout for Magic Beans.
I'm trying to think back. We saw several specials online for Magic Beans, but like just the way that they are positioned and the way that they had their team members spread out, like they didn't really need too many specials to kind of keep up that momentum. Just they had really good just one-on-one matchups against Coyote All-Stars, just to the point where like, you know, they couldn't get their footing to break back in. They didn't really have the resources to kind of flush them out, especially with that Carbon on the right side, just completely funneling everything to the left side there, which, you know, made things a little bit more difficult, especially having an edit on that stack there. I think, like, I honestly am surprised that we didn't see more of that Reef Slider. I feel like Reef Slider on Macro Zones is such a good, like, even just like stall tool, just cap the zone, get some penalty points, and then you're able to regroup. But just the way that Magic Beans has set up, is we couldn't even get the Reef Slider in.
No, not at all. It is just kind of a really devastating combination, having two weapons that are really good at sharking, really good under ledges in particular, and you're able to position them on either entry point while having an edit cover the one that's a little bit less self-sufficient in the form of the S-Blast, because of the fact that it has that much slower speed due to having to commit so long to one of its shots. But now we're going to be looking at Rainmaker, Undertow, Spillway, and I'm not entirely sure if you want to be stacking those two weapons together on Rainmaker in particular. I still see the synergy, but I'm not entirely certain if you want to commit that hard. I don't think Sharking is quite as potent on Undertow as it is on Mako Mart, but it can definitely still be really good for Magic Beans if they can leverage it correctly.
I was supposed to say, like, both for Makar, even Inkbot coming up, you're able to use your Sharky weapons to kind of push for an advantage. But with Undertow, because of how narrow it gets in the middle around the objective, you almost have to have it some sort of advantage first before the the roller can even push up. That being said, though, swapping to the Wellstring, I was talking about that before. It has such good object damage. It's going to be taking the Wellstring and then bringing in an Enzap for their cooler. That's going to just be an instant pop for Magic Beans right there. And I think like that's going to be kind of their opener right there, just having that Wellstring be able to just really take shots around the cover and around the pillar.
Yeah, I absolutely see the vision here. You're going to take out the Wiper first thing, with the Carbon also going down on the side of Magic Beans. So there's going to be a little bit of back and forth going on right now. And it looks like the Rainmaker, are they set up to push on the right side? They might be. No, they are going to fade left. But they do go 3 down, and the Reef Slider is going to come in with the Trizuka. And it's going to be Coyote All-Stars now managing to mount a successful defense, and it's their turn to hold the Rainmaker and make a push of their own.
I was gonna say, I saw like Magic Beans were doing a good job of playing it safe, playing it patient, but then they ended up losing 2 of their members to Coyote All-Stars here, so that left to the push dropping right there. But they're still like the Coyote All-Stars also having a hard time trying to push back in, but that might stop right here. Ship on the zap, the shot, really cleaning up here. Going to be taking 3 members down into just the Wellstring, but that Wellstring is going to be locking down the checkpoint, going to be stalling out the push. Until they can get that move them, like they're going to be having a hard time getting past that. And the Carbon's already trying to push up, take out the Rainmaker.
They're going to try. They're going to be managing to get 3 down on the side of Coyote All-Stars. The shot, once again, going to be staying alive. Ship acting as the lifeblood of Coyote All-Stars in this early game. Going to use Azuka to try and see if they can find a pick and just not lose as much space as they otherwise would have. The Rainmaker is going to reset now, and he's going to be transitioning back into a mid-fight with Magic Beans, looking like they're going to be getting an advantage right now.
2 members down, including Edit. Now the Dread's going to be taken out as well. Carbon trying to open things up for them. And they're going to be popping that buoy here, making a break for the checkpoint, getting the first checkpoint for them. And the shot is going to be going down as well, right as they go to test it. Wiper's going to be coming up from behind. Hammer gets popped, but as 3 members down, they could just run here. The Wiper's going to be distracted here. The Edit's going to be trying to paint up the pedestal, make sure they can't get that checkpoint. And they do manage to take them down before they can get it, but it is down to 1 point. They are going to need a KO to take this back, but the push isn't over just yet.
It's not. Magic Beans is still there. They're still applying so much pressure. They keep staggering Coyote All-Stars, and it's looking like they're going to try and go for a dunk covered by the Booyah Bomb, but they're not able to get the traction onto the Rainmaker pedestal. There's just not enough paint there. But after a Reef Slider, this Carbon is still alive. It's still alive, cycling coolers. There's just nothing stopping Magic Beans from just sitting here as long as they can in order to get another opportunity to grab the Rainmaker and dunk it. And that's the KO.
We saw that Carbon roller sitting there for a long time, getting several jumps in and had that cooler pretty much active. And as soon as the rest of their team was able to get in and paint for it, they gunned it for the Rainmaker and were just barely able to slip in and get the dunk before they are taken out the second time. So kudos to them, and that will take them to a 2-0. I'm very impressed. We were just talking about how it was going to be difficult for the Carbon roller to kind of push in without that advantage, but once they had the advantage, it's just they were a force to be reckoned with.
I think the swap to the Wellstring was actually the heads-up play that they needed in order to make that comp work, honestly. With the Zap able to cycle coolers for them, the constant chip damage and long-range pressure from not just the Wellstring's main weapon, but also having the auto bombs chase down anyone who's potentially sharking, and having the hammers constantly available to throw those big hitboxes of 60 damage now it does with the hammer outside hitbox, and it's just super good combo numbers for both of these weapons, closing those kill thresholds, and applying so much object damage to the Rainmaker that it doesn't really matter that you're playing two weapons that really don't do damage to the Rainmaker.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that like the edit to Wellstring matchup just really favored the Wellstring in it that a lot of the places that the edit wanted to kind of set up and hide or just take cover, the Wellstring was able to just shoot well around it, and because they had such, you know, similar ranges, is like the Wellstring was able to kind of chip at the backline safely, and that again just kind of open things up for the rest of the team to kind of move in when normally it just is difficult to kind of get past that midpoint to get to the other side. I say in the Coyote All-Stars, like they did such a good job with that one push going into it. Like we saw the shot just really play hard to just clean things up on that last side, but again, just because the Wellstring was alive and able to just put pressure on the pedestal, it just completely shut things down for Coyote All-Stars.
Yeah, though they did manage to have a few signs of life, the shot player ship trying to their best to keep their hopes alive, but not quite able to do it. So it's looking like, so that wound up being like a very one-sided affair, though at least the Rainmaker game was a bit closer in this regard.
Absolutely. But yeah, that was with the 2-0 and not going to be going to a third game. We are going to be going to another short break as we wait for our round 3 to get set up here. But yeah, just stay tuned and stay hydrated. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back with Swimmer Sync. We're going into round 3. It's going to be Honor Bound versus BALLHOG Summer. I'm still part 2, and I'm still here with IMAD.
Hello, hello. Now this is a team I am well familiar with. They have been around for quite a while, have been making names for themselves. Had the honor of fighting against them at LTC. I think it was last year. Heck of a team, heck of a player base. So I'm excited to see them in action. And you pointed this out before as we were getting set up. But we're going to be going to Brinewater zones. You don't get to see Brinewater too often anymore, but it's going to be fun to watch, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of those maps that is absolutely characterized by the fact that it doesn't have very many entry points onto one player's side of the map. But there are these big drop down points. There is a lot of space to play around on the sides of the map now that the map had been expanded a couple patches ago. So we're going to end up seeing that what these teams are going to end up bringing to the table, because I don't necessarily feel like Pride and Water you need to bring the absolute standards to the to the fight. You could end up
Hmm.
going a little silly and pick some things that you probably wouldn't otherwise see. I feel like similar things that you would see in, like, say, Zone's museum.
No, for sure. It is. It's very unique, and thus you have to have some more unique comp to kind of combat it. I say that as we see, what was it? BALLHOG Summer bringing out the pretty, with the exception of the Wiper, it is pretty standard comp right there. We see the splash for that crab, we got the decap, and we get the pencil, which is going to have a lot of space control, a lot of zone control. But, on the other side, we're going to be seeing some spicier picks right here. We see the Forge and the Nautilus for that Booyah splashdown. Going to be having some nice vibrant painting weapons to kind of combat that.
So looking like to start things off, we're going to have this crab tank try and get control. And looking like with that cooler, with that crab tank, it's going to end up being BALLHOG Summer's first control onto the thing. They're going to try and see if they can't get in any further, but I think with one down, they're not going to try and risk it right now, and they're just going to have to defend against this incoming push, which is going to be led by the Booyah Bomb and followed up by the crab tank momentarily.
I find it interesting that neither of these teams, like, there's no nuclear option, there's no insta-cap for the zone. Like, the closest thing we have is that splashdown, but that requires the Nautilus to get well into the zone, and so that's going to need some I guess something to follow that up with. And already we're seeing the Nautilus go down, so just the pencils kind of fighting for the zone. And so far, BALLHOG Summer has been not relinquished that zone after they've taken control. So Honor Bound is just trying to find a way in at this point here, but the crab is going to be finding a splat on the splash, and so just continuing to kind of keep them staggered, keep them at bay here. They do finally take 2 members down, so this could be their opportunity to break back in, but they got to watch out for the bubble right there, but the splash out is going to make short work of it.
Honor Bound going to try and see if they can't surge back in, trading 2 for 1, going to be able to try and see if they can't get in. The Forge end up going down with their Booyah Bomb, but pushing BALLHOG Summer all the way back into their base. This is going to be looking like a really strong hold for them until BALLHOG Summer can muster up the specials to charge back in. The decap is online, the hammer is coming out. We are going to see them try and get in, see if they can't get the Buffalo in a good position, just going to shore up their side of the map. Managed to get control just barely while the Wiper is still trying to chase anyone down. Looks like Honor Bound is in full retreat right now.
Oh man, I can't tell if that was the Nautilus or the springs that took down the Wiper there, but I was waiting to see where that bubble was going to get popped, and they had to pop it quite a bit back from zone. They did end up getting the zone itself, but just they didn't have quite as much space, I think, as they would have liked here. So Honor Bound going to be taking back the zone again. They do lose their splash, though. That's going to be critical because of the crab tank. It's going to be out of commitment for a little bit, and we already see the hammer coming out from BALLHOG here, and the bubbler is also ready to go here. So if they're able to get into zone here, and they are going to be popping that bubble as 3 members go down for Honor Bound, that's going to be a lot of space and control going to BALLHOG Summer here.
Commentators looking to try and see if they can't get any further. Ends up taking a little bit of chip damage from the Sprinkler, not really wanting to risk going around that corner at the moment, letting the Wiper try and poke from the ledge. Gonna back off just a little bit. Honor Bound going to try and see if they can't get their specials. Gonna catch the Decapitator with the Booyah Bomb and throw down a splashdown right in the mid. Going to get 2 off of BALLHOG Summer. And despite all of that, however, the zone has not flipped, and in fact it might end up going back. No, it's going to be Honor Bound's hold now. But BALLHOG Summer is still knocking on the doorstep of the zone. They could easily end up flipping it back.
Oh gosh, 3 members of BALLHOG Summer going down. That's going to be huge for Honor Bound here, because they're so close to getting through the rest of their penalty here. And what we've seen so far is it's come down to kind of like the special circulation here. Crab Tank is already out there, really contesting the zone, and the bubbler is going to get popped as well. But losing the pencil is going to be the turning factor for BALLHOG right here. And so now the Crab Tank is going to respond in turn, but do they have the players to follow it up with it? every time that a special is online and gets popped for these teams, like that's gonna just instantly flips the zone because of the pressure change.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, things are looking pretty good for Honorbound, managing to get 2 down, no cooler, and are going to be able to wind down their penalty points. The question is that are they going to be able to hold through the zone for long enough in order to get the lead swap? Going to be able to deny the hammer, but going 2 down themselves is a really messy fight right now, but it's one that seems to be favoring Honorbound. Barely able to prevent the zone from getting flipped, but a lot of pressure is on it right now. Going to try and flip, and it looks like they are going to manage to get it down for just long enough. Crab Tank trying to finish off the decap, managing to find it. The opposing Crab Tank now going to try and see if they can clean things up and open up an opportunity for BALLHOG Summer to come down. But with everyone cleaned up, it's looking like it's going to be a KO for Honorbound after a nasty back and forth.
I think that was such a huge play by the splash on that Crab Tank. Well, not only taking out the decap, which could have turned the tides in an instant there, but then also getting the jump on the Wiper. That Wiper has been causing a lot of problems for Honorbound. Just super aggressive, super aggro, and just anytime that there is a lull, kind of, you can just expect the Wiper to come in from behind and, you know, shake things up a bit. But as soon as they're able to get the splat on the decap and that Wiper taking down both the swords, just that kind of, you know, that really solidified Honorbound's hold. Even with the pencil trying to paint over the zone, just they didn't have enough pressure to kind of move in from that point forward. So it just was a matter of Honorbound just locking things in, keeping it safe, and then, you know, waiting for the timer to tick out.
Absolutely. It was looking like it was going to be a really close game either way, and right now it seems to be falling into Honorbound for going 1 up. But now we're going to be going into ship-shape cargo code tower control. What's your read on this one? I kind of feel like this is another fairly unique map in the tower control space at the very least.
I even like I almost feel like just the synergy between this the map and the tower just makes it a whole beast on its own. I know that we do have several, you know, tower control. It's a snowbally kind of mode, but I think with ship shape in particular, trying to remember, I think it only has the 2 checkpoints, and just that compound with like kind of the narrow path that it takes, it just, once you get going, it just gets a lot of space, a lot of points really quickly. And so we almost like, if we're gonna see a back and forth match, kind of like what we saw in this last one, I don't think that tower is gonna move too far past the first checkpoint. I think if it's gonna, like, anytime that it is gonna be on the receiving end of like a wipeout or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of feel as if this is one of those maps where getting a lot of momentum can spell doom for the defending team very, very quickly. And I think both of these teams are able to capitalize on that for sure. But the 2 teams are kind of running some very similar looking comps with a couple of details mixed around. You do have not really too many, you didn't see too many like fast options of capping the zone. So I'm wondering if they're going to have anything specialized for the tower take. So we're going to see as we're loading in, gonna see what comps that they're running. It looks like we've swapped out for a Blaster and Neo Splash and Rapid Pro Deco on the side of Honorbound. Exciting.
This is gonna be very interesting. So I'm gonna talk about BALLHOG Summer first, because that's kind of the thought that I had. You know, in the last match, we didn't see any strikes, or we did see the Buoy Bomb, but like the strikes is kind of the nuclear option, as I like to call it, for zones. We did see the splashdown from the Nautilus, but breaking out the Neo Splash, like, that is such a good pick, because you transition from the Crab Tank to the strikes, and with Splash you're able to get so many strikes, and that kind of just compounds kind of the snowballing nature of tower control already. That being said, they are going to be losing their Neo Splash, and Honorbound going to be shutting down this push real quick before BALLHOG Summer has time to take off.
Yeah, Honorbound going to be, like you said before, this tower is probably not going to be moving all that much if we end up with a big back and forth right now. Crab Tank on the side of Honorbound going to try and open things up, but unfortunately they end up going 2 down instead, and BALLHOG Summer is... Oh, no, excuse me. BALLHOG Summer is the one going 2 down. They're going to, in fact, keep staggering, as Honorbound is now going to push to the first checkpoint. They're looking pretty likely to be able to take it at this rate, but one is going down. They are getting trades right now. It's not entirely certain, but I think they are going to, yes, barely going to get the first checkpoint, though I'm not sure how much farther unless they can ride this momentum.
Oh, this is okay. Here we go. We're gonna be seeing Honor Bound getting it almost to the second checkpoint here, but they do have that splashdown ready to go. So it's gonna be a great get off me tool once they get up into this corner, and there they go. They're gonna be taking down the decaf. Blaster is gonna live, but they are gonna be trading out with that Nautilus, and just gonna be leaving the pencil here. And with the rapid deco putting pressure on that pencil, they're not going to have a whole lot of space to work with, and so they are nearly done with that checkpoint. Doing a little swapperoo with the Nautilus there. Unfortunately, does not quite get the checkpoint through. What I really like about Honor Bound's comp right here is like they don't have strikes, they don't have any sort of like quick, like stop the tower kind of weapons, but when they have the tower, that combo with the rapid deco and the crab, just they can keep so much aggression, or not even aggression, just so much space, so much pressure going consistently for such a long period of time that we saw that BALLHOG Summer had a really tough time breaking back out, even with those strikes in hand.
They had a tough time. Now they're going to be in the driver's seat, going to be putting a lot of pressure onto this first checkpoint. It's looking like Honor Bound is just going to let them get that first checkpoint, and they're going to set up for the defense of the second checkpoint instead, just conserving the resources. Splashdown coming down, going to end up trying to find someone, not quite able to do it. Honor Bound now starting to push BALLHOG Summer back with the tower just barely on the 40-point range, with the Nautilus trying to get them off via the splashdown, only going to be able to get a trade. BALLHOG Summer's still pushing forward right now with the tri-strikes.
That was just a key pick, taking down both the Rapid Deco and the Nautilus there. That's going to be both of those tools that they've been using to take the tower off. But the attention has been diverted. The decaf is off to the side here, but no one is riding the tower. The tower is going to be resetting back to mid. Pieman on the Nautilus is going to be taking down the Tower Rider and the Blaster, making it 3 down. It is just the pencil remaining, and that Rapid Deco has got their name on it. We will be seeing a delayed kind of disconnection here, but with Honor Bound's lead, like they could potentially keep this going. That is going to be the pencil out of commission, but if they can lock things down here in this last minute and a half, they could keep this victory they got in a pocket right here.
Yeah, it is an unfortunate disconnect, but they are in a pretty good position in order to try and hold it. That being said, if BALLHOG Summer can push this, BALLHOG Summer has a lot more room to work with now that they don't have to deal with the pressure of the pencil for the remainder of this game. So now Honor Bound is going to have to make every engagement count. They are going to have to allow this tower to get all the way to the checkpoint before they can even think about starting to contest it, and 2 go down with just the rapid left. I don't think any hope of a hold is anywhere near Honor Bound anymore, as BALLHOG Summer clears the second checkpoint, though not quite able to keep it moving much, as Honor Bound is cleaning up the push right now, with the exception of the Blaster, who is looking to try and trade one more before going down themselves.
I was say, like, any trade that BALLHOG Summer is able to get right here is just going to play into their advantage twice as much as usual, just because they are already missing a player. And 13-20, like, they were able to get through that checkpoint, but Honor Bound is coming back with a vengeance. They are not letting up in the slightest. The Blaster is going to be cleaning up the tower, trying to get the Nautilus trying to get him, but unfortunately is going to be taken down. And with only 13 seconds remaining, I think that might be it with for Honor Bound here. BALLHOG Summer, all they got to do is just keep the tower moving in their direction in this last couple of seconds here, and that is going to be game, bringing it up to a 1-1.
Really unfortunate way to go out, but it is what it is. It happens. You can't really go too many Splatoon games without something like this happening, unfortunately. But that does mean we are going to be getting one more good game in with map number 3, which is Clam Blitz on Umami Ruins.
Our first game 3 of groups right here, thanks to the DC that we saw. But I just want to talk about kind of like the differences in comps we saw. It just, once again, BALLHOG Summer, they had, what you would think is kind of the go-to comp for tower control, especially one that is so snowbally. They had the splashdown from the Blaster. They had the Neo Splash with the strikes. That just, both of those are really good at, like, oh, we don't want them to go too far, nuke this tower, and they have to get off it. But the thing with that kind of, I don't know, style of play is like you need the follow-up, because once you throw it, then it's gone. Like that gives you pressure for like 2 seconds, and you have to be able to move up in those 2 seconds to continue up the pressure. Otherwise, they're just going to hop back on tower and keep on rolling. And I think the difference being, like, Honor Bound had a bit of a slower comp with the double backline, but with the constant pressure of the Crab and the Nautilus and the Rapid Deco, just all those chipping off each other, continuing to keep them at bay from such a long distance that even with the strikes, they just weren't slowed down when they had that tower control.
I can say from personal experience, Ship-Shaped Tower is one of Rapid Pro Deco's best maps, just whole stop. It is a very, very strong weapon, being able to poke around the cover. It's like not too much significant height advantage, then you can poke around very easily. It's very good at utilizing the cover. This is not a bad whale map either, but so it was a very heads-up play in order to slow the pace of the game down and keep the windows closed as long as possible. But we're going to see how that translates with Umami Ruins, a very different map, and it's looking like BALLHOG Summer is going to go back to the comp that we saw back in Game 1, and Honorbound looking very similar, but with a 52 gal now.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of I know that was the Rapid Deco in the last match. I can't remember what they were pulling out for the first one, but I do like the pick here. 52, still going to be gaining a lot of paint, still sort of that short range aggression, but with the splash wall kind of balances out with how this map, this map is going to be giving it kind of some good pressure, some good space holding to kind of work against the decab on BALLHOG Summer here. So we're going to be seeing just a little bit of a poke back and forth, like both teams not too keen on pushing up too far and getting splatted. But with the Crab Tank coming out, this could be BALLHOG's ticket in. They are going to be taking out the 52 and looking for one other one.
Right now, it's looking like it's hard to commit right now with either team being able to retaliate. Just one pick isn't going to be enough with the way that both of these teams are structured. There's a whole lot of punish available for both teams. The Decapitator going down, and I would still not be super comfortable trying to push in too much further unless you see someone overextending here on BALLHOG Summer, and it looks like they don't. Honorbound is going to very slowly inch their way forward, managing to get a pick on the Wiper, and only now are going to be able to take a huge advantage after a very slow and methodical push, now threatening the basket with the pencil in top mid.
Oh my goodness, 2 power clams in Honorbound's possession, 18 clams in total here. If they're able to break in through, and they do have a Crab in their possession, taking on the splash, that's going to be key right here. If they have the splash down ready to go, if they're able to launch this in, and they are going to be bringing it right in, taking 2 members down, all they got to do is pop that basket, get 2 of them in, and that is going to be 60 points for Honorbound. And with Pieman on this dome right here, they're going to be able to keep a lot of space and maintain this push going, and they're going to be chased down, but not before bringing it down to 42 here. Very well played by Honorbound. It is going to be coming to a close here with 2 members down, but that for a first push is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a strong but not quite insurmountable push. I think BALLHOG Summer is going to be gearing up to try and capitalize on this momentum, managing to get quite a few picks on the defense, and now able to potentially open things up even more, popping a hammer in order to try and chase a stray team member down, but honestly just kind of getting lost, and even a hammer throw not really finding any value. But even then, BALLHOG Summer has managed to get their way all the way into the base. Now it's just a matter of getting the power claim in and scoring a few more points. Although they didn't quite have the same kind of explosive numbers as we saw initially, they still managed to match Honorbound's score, but that doesn't get you the lead. That only gets you 1 point shy, unfortunately.
Oh, goodness gracious. That was so unfortunate because there wasn't any clams. Oh no! Clams spawned nearby to kind of get them that lead in with the last player remaining. They were forced to back up here, so that was going to bring it to kind of a 1 point difference, equal penalty points here, but Honorbound, they are ready to go, locked and loaded with 18 clams once again. They are just once again looking for that opening. And with Crab Tank online, it's going to be pop right here. It's going to be trying to look for a space in. And if the Nautilus is able to do what it did before, we could see 2 more balls getting right in. But no, they're going to be stopping Nautilus before they can set up on the dome. Going to be critical here for BALLHOG Summer just to maintain the space here. But they do still lose their player in the process, so not going to quite be able to break out into mid just yet.
So almost going down from the crab tank from BALLHOG Summer. They're going to end up popping Cooler, trying to see if they can't take another fight here as BALLHOG Summer is trying to break out of their base. But with the specials drying up, and it's looking like just the decap having the special ready with a splash on Honor Bound close behind now. It's looking like it's going to be a little bit of stalemate until they find the 2. And another disconnect, this time on the side of BALLHOG Summer. Unfortunate, there's only a minute left, and they're not the ones in the lead at this time.
Indeed, and on top of that, just like the nice 3 down from the 52, they're able to push right in, take out half of BALLHOG Summer. That's going to give all the space that Honorbound needs to start pouring in these clams, and there's still a lot of clams spawning in mid right here. Just going to be passing them up to Halo here as they dunk them on in. 40 seconds remaining, and a player down. Like, if they can stop this push, they could have a potential to break back in, but it's not looking good for them right here. 15 points left, only 30 seconds remaining. The basket is going to close, giving them that nice mercy clam to keep the match going, but it is going to be an uphill battle for them here, as there's still a lot of a lot of orange paint here. Really going to be fighting, but 2 members down. Oh, this could be it. This could be their opening.
Oh, the big plays from the decap going to give BALLHOG Summer that last-ditch effort that they absolutely need right now. Their wiper has so many clams, but they're not able to get any of them in. This is the last push that they're going to be able to get, and it's going to be a wipeout. So Honorbound will be taking this set off the back of a disconnect, unfortunately. But as they say, an eye for an eye.
I was just about to say, like, not only was, Honorbound, they had that 1-point lead, and they were looking like they're going to be extending that even further, but it is a bit of karma having the disconnect for BALLHOG Summer there, even things out. But still, like, I thought for sure they're going to bring that back. The decap going in, getting 3 down, and the bubbler plays right underneath the basket. Like, they were just a couple clams away from taking that lead right back.
It was so close, but unfortunately the wiper ended up getting picked with the majority of the clams, and you really just can't have that happen at that moment in time. You really just kind of need to hard focus on score and try and make the match end early. Honestly, I would go for a full KO if possible, but it's easier said than done when you're down a permanent, team member. So It was a good effort for sure, but it's going to go to Honorbound, now going to be taking the 2-1, and we're going to be seeing where these teams have ended up now that we're at the end of the pool stage.
That's right. That's going to be the end of our Nessie pools. All the teams have gotten their points in, still finishing up a couple of matches, but where are they going to stack up in the top brackets, the next set, the next round of SOS? I'm going to be looking at let me look at where Honorbound, because that is going to be at least 1 set under their belt. If they were able to take both of their other 2 sets, that could potentially put them in Great White. I was not paying attention. That was a shame on me.
Well, we'll be finding out momentarily either way, as we are going to be going to break before we end up coming back to you for the first round of Great White. Don't go anywhere. Or do. You can go get water, but come right back, please. We like you here.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are keeping the ball rolling into our Great White Bracket. Up first, we got Kick Up Top Cubed versus I've seen this team before, and I had absolute trouble saying that name before, but I think it's Kagekoi? Kagekoi? Nonetheless, it is I, Mad Game II, joined once again by Part2, who could possibly help me with this pronunciation.
I mean, just from what I know of Japanese pronunciation rules, I would assume it's Kagekoi, but like I also don't know how that works necessarily. I have been told it is Kagekoi, maybe. Though I don't know. Pronunciation guide would be nice, but I'm just going to go with my gut and go with Kagekoi personally. Cake Up Top Cubed, though, that is also a mildly familiar name. I'm more familiar with their ball form, not their cake form. But it's looking like they're going to be some pretty familiar faces to start us off, and looks like our first stage is going to be Hagglefish Market on Splat Zones.
Indeed. Now we are going from our, I guess we've done away with kind of the play of 3 matchup, but now we are in our single elimination bracket. So this is for all the marbles right here. Quarterfinals, I believe. So yeah, we're starting at the bottom, working our way up to the top here. Zones on Hagglefish Market, what are some things that you're hoping to see on this map?
What I'm hoping to see is honestly some very good fundamentals. I will always go up and say that Hagglefish Market Splat Zones is the quintessential fundamentals map for Splatoon 3. It does not seem to favor any particular weapon style or team comp, I don't think. Not in any drastic degree like some other maps like Brinewater, but it also doesn't I kind of feel like it's the map that is always testing how well do you fit in Splatoon 3's environment in particular.
No, I would have to agree with you right there, because I know that this is one of the newer maps, Splatoon 3. This is not a rework of an older map, and so like I know that we've not had the greatest luck with a lot of the maps, but the fact that we have this is the new, this is the Mako Zones, this is the Inkblot Art Academy of Splatoon 3, and so I think, like you said, it does have such a good balance of map design that you're able to see so many different techniques and weapons getting played here. Speaking of, though, I was expecting a reflux out here. I was mistaken.
No reflux, but we are seeing a reef slider in the form of that Dread Ringer being supporting a carbon roller on the side of Cake Up Top. Well, meanwhile, Kagekoi is opting for the double midline splash comp that you saw from before 9. From before the most recent patch, and still going pretty strong right now. In fact, they're going to end up surging right forward. Cake Up Top going to be able to get a couple of picks right now, and get the first control of the zone. Adam very far up forward, just going to dodge pencil shots for their life, and not quite able to get away. It's a very good hold to start off for Cake Up Top.
I have to say, that was some shenanigans I would expect from the carbon roller, not from the T-Tech there. They are going to be called out, and so that's going to allow Kagekoi to get in and get the zone back. But they do, nicely done by the splash right here, taking down 2 members. It is just the T-Tech remaining, so they're going to be painting up, getting some space, and going to be taking away those points. They just have to watch out, because that T-Tech was not accounted for. Oh, I take it back. Here comes the strikes.
The strikes, they're going to end up popping a crab, trying to prevent Cake Up Top from taking too much space. 2 down going now, right, and with one of them from the crab using the last little bit of duration to get a little bit of chip damage onto the Zuka, as well as some burst bombs, still going to end up surviving. Unfortunately, it looks like 2 outside hits, not going to be able to take him down. So Kagekoi is going to remain in control, although with the zone flipped very briefly, they are going to have to work through some penalty points, while the Zipcaster is now looking to be potentially popped from this Platana Stamper.
They're going to be rushed down by the carbon roller, unfortunately, so that's going to be the end of that hold for Kagekoi here. But the carbon roller is going to be called out, not able to push up, going to be jumping back to a teammate to be taken down by the Snipe Rider. Once again, just doing a good job of just keeping space right here, and they're going to be moving right back in with the strikes, with the crab tank in, and so the carbon roller just not able to catch a break here, going to be taken down once again. That being said, they do take both the midliners from Kagekoi down, so able to recap the zone and just start to push them right back.
looking like Cake Up Top is now looking to try and see if they can't get some more points on the board, see if they can't close this gap. And with getting 2 down, they are going to be able to get an opportunity to do so, although they end up losing another one, although with Cooler, so they won't be down for too long. Carbon Roller, they're going to try and see if they can't get on the flank, but the Slosher is watching them right now. And with the Tri-Strikes going off, they're going to see if they can't quickly rush down the pencil and couldn't get denied. And Cake Up Top is going to be slowly losing ground, and it's looking like it's Kagekoi's zone to flip, and now going to follow up with the Cooler for some additional aggression.
Like I said, I love the effort put into that Carbon Roller. They are just doing their darn hardest to get to a poop can right here, but just every time that Kagekoi has control, like we see the pencil here being able to just doing a good job of keeping things locked down, not letting them get any sort of space that they have under their control. It takes pretty much like a delayed wipe for Cake Up Top Cube to break back in, and they've been able to do so several times. We might actually see the lead swap right here, and that is going to be the lead swap as they break through the last of their penalty points. And Kagekoi not quite able to recap the zone, so it is still in the favor of Cake Up Top right here, and they are continuing to get these points right here, and not a special online to stall them.
I want to be like really putting on the pressure that the amount of pain that the Dread Ringer and the pencil together is able to exert. They never end up going into penalty points. They managed to hold onto the zone throughout all of that, and now they're going in for a very aggressive hold. The pencil is down. Some specials are available, but the strike is now down. The Zipcaster goes down, and it's looking like with that huge push, Cake Up Top is going to go up 1-0 with Kagekoi's tournament life now hanging in the balance.
I think that Carbon Roller was in such a good position. We saw at least 2 members of Kagekoi had to devote their attention to just to taking out the Carbon Roller just to be able to drop out of spawn. But by that point, just so many points had gone away on the zone that they didn't have an opportunity to get there fast enough to repaint it. And so, you know, Cake Up Top doing a fantastic job of keeping that control right at the end right there. And I'm trying to think, like, there were so many times where I would say Kagekoi, like, they broke in so effectively. We saw the combination of the strikes and the crab just absolutely sweep Cake Up Top out of the way, but they likewise were able to just kind of break back in. Like, they didn't have enough holding power to keep that zone once they had control of it, and just the continuing pressure of Cake Up Top continuing to retake the zone, just there wasn't enough penalty points left at the end of that.
No, not quite, and we're going to be seeing if they can't take this to a game of 3 in Clamblitz Scorched Gorge. Going to be a much more different map here. This one I find is very favored toward weapons that like to shark around, ones that like to utilize the big open space, either through big range or through great mobility. Either or, I feel like this is going to be a much different feeling map, even if we end up seeing the exact same teams.
Indeed, and I think this is something to point out. You know, we saw Rainmaker on Scorch a couple sets ago, but with Clamblitz, you do have that structure kind of raised up a lot higher, pretty much the high ground of the map in the middle there. And so not only will that create a good vantage point for the backline, but like you said, it'll just create more opportunities for the Carbon Roller and the other frontline weapons to kind of shark around, because it gives them more cover from the opposing backline when they're in control of mid. So like I said, just it's going to be a little bit different plays right here, because not only of the just the map space, but also just you have such a narrow pathway to get to the basket, which is the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kinds of stall breaker specials that you can see, Zukas, your Tri-Strikes, even Crab Tank can do it to some extent, and even like some more dedicated ones like Kraken can always like end up getting you through there in some way, shape, or form. Heck, even a bubble can do it if a decapitator is able to get in. We're going to end up seeing what the adjustment is, and it's looking like it's going to be a 52 on the side of I don't remember. That's Cake Up Top, yeah. And then Kagekoi going to be running the same comp back.
Indeed, yeah, no changes from Kagekoi right here. I think they have a pretty good lineup right here. What now I'm trying to think of what they swapped off to get that 52 in the game, because they have some good paint. They have some good support paint for the Carbon Roller to kind of move about. but having the 52 on hand gives them that splash wall and the whale, which can keep just a lot of space. Look at it. They are already setting up underneath the basket before they even had the clams to go.
Yeah, they swapped out the Dreadringer for the 52, and it's going to be Kagekoi now going to be looking for that defense. The Zipcaster not going to find anything, just going to end up getting picked off, and it's looking like we're going to reset back to a mid-fight as people are taking losses and just kind of setting back, going back, charging their specials. It's going to be not really, they decided not to overcommit. Kagekoi going to try and see if they can't get their momentum back in a slower manner, and it's looking like it's paying off for them as they manage to find a pick onto the pencil. Strikes are being traded, and it's looking like Kick Up Top is going to be in a pretty unfavorable position as Kagekoi takes complete control of mid.
Ooh, and they have a lot of clan economy in their favor as well. They just need the opening to kind of break through that last little bit right there, but you know, Cake Up Top, they are keeping them at bay for the time being, just stopping them in the tracks before they can get to the basket here. Even with the strike, even with the crap online, just couldn't quite get to the basket. Finally does able to break it open, and they do take the 2 members of Cake Up Top down as well. So that's going to give them some more follow-up to kind of get some points on the board, getting it down to 74, but you know, with the 2 members down, that might be the end of that push right there, and a final wipeout to close things up.
Now it's Kick Up Top's turn to come back. They're going to immediately sprint the Power Clam into the barrier and get their G-Tech set up on the top. We're going to be ready to throw some Tri-Strikes down for some covering fire. One member is going to end up falling off the map. You hate to see it. And Cake Up Top is going to end up falling back after going 2 down, but not before taking the lead down to 51. Not a particularly big lead yet again. It's small changes, all things considered, but still more significant. You are going to need more than just a power claim in order to break that one.
And I think a good example of, you know, you really don't want to wipe out on this map at all. Like we saw how quickly after the wipeout that, you know, Cake Up Top was able to push back in, and once again 3 members down, and they're able to just push right up to the basket. Kagekoi not having any sort of time to get back from spawn because of the distance there, so they're going to be bringing it down to 32, and another power club is in on the way, possibly a second one as well to close out the game. Cake Up Top, nice 2-0 with that dunk.
I really felt like we were going to end up going that to complete time, but Cake Up Top just deciding, nah, they're gonna put their foot down. They're going to floor it all the way to a KO. Really well done. That was a surprising push from them.
I think, again, just like when they had that kind of advantage, and they had some nice wipeouts to open things up, but then when they had the advantage, they were immediately pushing up, immediately taking that space in front of the basket. Like, it wasn't 2 seconds after the basket closed that one push that there was already a power clam in the opposing basket. Just like, because it's I would say it's pretty equidistant between spawn and your basket, but it feels like it's a shorter distance between baskets, especially if you're already there and already ready to go.
Especially with the speed of which their team comp was able to move. Very well played, extremely good aggression, really good capitalizing on their openings. GG all around. Kagekoi managing to make it to Great White, but no further than the first round. Very good performance, but there's always next time.
There's always next time. Oh gosh, but yeah, like you said, that is going to be the end of round 1, and it will be the end of our time on the mic. But before we head off, I just once again want to shout out the 8 LAN 8 Champions 1 showdown happening later this month on the 27th, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. You know, 8 LANs, 8 divisions, 8 teams ready to throw things down for the final victory.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a particular LAN that you want to cheer for, head on over to Splatoon Tourney on April 27th and cheer on your team. Absolutely going to be a great event. So go ahead and get yourself and mark the date for when it happens. But
for sure.
Yeah. And with that, our time on the mic is coming to a close. So, Ahmed, can you tell the people where they can find you?
Well, you can find me in all the usual places, Twitch, Blue Sky, and YouTube at IMedGamerII. You know, I've been making my own way through the competitive landscape, work my up the ladder. So I've been trying to stream as many matches as I can. But yeah, where can the good people find you, Part 2?
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube, Part2SR, or on part2.bluesky.social on that particular website. I am currently in the middle of streaming some. I'm currently in the middle of doing attempts for CTR speedruns, as well as doing game clearing streams of the Mega Man series and Tales of Berseria.
Fantastic. I'll have to tune in at some point myself. But in the meantime, we will be throwing things over to another set of commentators. So stay hydrated, stay tuned, and get ready for a Great White Round 2. We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
Get ready for the next battle, ladies, gentlemen, Zaydabs, and others in between. My name is SBF Dark. We're coming at you live here at IPL to bring you our second half of Swim or Sink. Now, before I get too ahead of myself, though, I am joined by someone else here tonight.
Hello everyone, I'm Omazen, joined here with the wonderful SVF Dark, and I don't know, if you all have been staying tuned in, there have been quite a few exciting sets so far tonight. Our Nessie pools, I don't know, there were some heartbreakers, there were some major wins for some teams. Everything that you could ever want basically out of a pool. But now we're in the Great White Round 2, and things are getting serious. Dark, look at this next set here with BLOODCLAT and Showtime on zones of all places. What are your thoughts heading in?
It's very interesting thing. Mako Zones, I feel like it's a very, very versatile map mode specifically for just any kind of weapons and any kind of team styles that you want to kind of run. There's a lot of different terrain and a lot of different ledges and a lot of different wide open portions of the map. So genuinely, a lot of weapons can do some decent good here. for me personally, I'm a blaster player through and through, so I like seeing blasters in these little nooks and crannies and just being a rat under the ledges, under some of these tight spaces here. But not just blasters could have a lot of fun here. You know, brushes, rollers, weapons like that, like the shark, and all those like are really fun here, at least in my opinion. But it's hard to say exactly if we'll see those coming out here. I'm not too familiar with these two teams, but I know for a fact that they made it. If they made it at least this far, that they got some hidden sauce in them nonetheless.
No, absolutely. And Makamart, it's a little bit of a final destination. I'm sure we all know when it comes to Splatoon 3. And I'm really interested to see what both teams choose to pull up here. I think this map is a bit more forgiving with some of those saucy picks, those picks that you don't necessarily see all the time. Both with the two plats in mid, with all the different little nooks and crannies in the map, there's a lot of flexibility here, and I think going into this set with these two teams, we may see a little bit of that, so I am looking forward to that too.
Most definitely, and you mentioned saucy picks. And I want to see what your opinion of a saucy pick is, because to me, when I hear a saucy pick as to like what they might be out of the blue, just surprise pick, I think of like something like L3 or H3, but I guess we won't hear you just yet as we're in the midst of all that conversation. They're ready up, and these two teams are getting ready to show off exactly what they have in store for us tonight.
Absolutely. Oh, and heading in, we do have a few funny picks relatively. We got the crazy mini there on the side of Showtime paired up with the Wiper and co. I'm really interested to see how this starts off. Loving this pick, loving the bubble pressure and the mist that they're going to be able to put out too. And overall, starting this match off, we're seeing a really exciting bubble play here as Showtime fights for control of mid.
A good use of bubble to try and make sure that they can deny any paintage there from BLOODCLAT, but Showtime unfortunately could not pull it off there as they were able to paint around the bubble and keep it in their contest there. Now Showtime's now down a couple players. BLOODCLAT are going to be able to flip this zone almost immediately and get through those really shallow pounding points. They're going to be able to take the lead once again. Now they have a few specials on their side to try and leverage on their side. BooyahBomb does go out for a 1-for-1 trade with the Zuka, and now there's 2 players down for BLOODCLAT. This could be the time for Showtime to actually get their footing really good here in mid as they take the zone and have Tacticooler online.
Yeah, that Tacticooler going to be huge, and as we see here, this bucket trying to cause a little bit of havoc, trying to get some pokes, playing that ledge like a menace, and getting a really clean pick there on the jump, denying Showtime the ability to move up as another goes down, and the Penge doing their best to just hold down the fort, and oh, there they go. But once again here, we see BLOODCLAT in control, showing their dominance so far this set.
Yeah, good holding right now. A little bit of back and forth between these two teams, but things are starting to swing into BLOODCLAT's favor here as they're already nearing the 50-point mark before Showtime is able to use the Booyah Bombs with their own painting to flip the zone almost immediately, giving them a good to decent chunk of penalty points to work through for BLOODCLAT. And now as they get another pick on their own side, they're just slowly staggering BLOODCLAT here, but they have Tacticooler online for both sides, so these back and forth trades aren't really too impactful, too meaningful, and BLOODCLAT in the midst of all that chaos is able to retake the zone once again, but they lose 2 players once again. Just back and forth fighting between these two teams. The zone's constantly shifting back and forth, but it seems that Showtime finally has their solid footing here in mid.
Yes, they do, Dark, and those strikes actually might make those streams fall apart as the Pen is left all alone. Oh my gosh. As we see here, the members of BLOODCLAT already getting a solid amount of progress back up as the bucket goes for a crazy flank play, going down to the Blaster and Pen on the side of Showtime, who move up here. They're trying to get those sneaky picks. They take out the Pen. They're going for the bucket. They take them out too. And once again, Showtime showing that they are going to put on a show for us tonight. They are not out.
Yeah, exactly. That was a delayed wipeout for Showtime, or for BLOODCLAT side. Showtime absolutely using this to best advantage, holding on to this Booyah bomb for as long as they can to try and pick the almost opportune moment to use it. 1-for-1 trade there on their side, but that is all worth it as lead is swapped once again. BLOODCLAT now in the back foot here, as Showtime has a very good footing here in mid, very good holding on their area control, and then with the backline flank from Mia here on the Wiper, they're able to cause a lot of chaos, but maybe a bit too slow on this flank as they were able to lose the zone there and give it heavy penalty points on their side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that Wiper making massive plays for the members of Showtime, just really causing distractions like a Wiper should. These strikes are going to come out. They are going to stall at the zone. It's going to be only the Mini who unfortunately goes down. But hey, you got the lead if you're Showtime. You have time to work with. You can get some specials up. You can get your Booyah. You can get the bubble ready. You have time to work with here, and BLOODCLAT needs to get a solid control over these niche edge spots on the side of the map if they're going to look to get that lead maintained.
Control is the name of the game here, and with 2 players down, BLOODCLAT is showing expertise control here of these ledges, of these corners. 20 points remaining on their side. Showtime has really got to make something happen here if they want to stay alive for this game for a little bit longer, but 1 player down, the S-Bus going down. That is a huge pick on their side. There's not enough time for them to be able to go and contest this zone. BLOODCLAT with a huge hold here is able to just stall out Showtime and take this first game.
That was quite the match, Dark, I must say. Really amazing plays from both sides. We saw both teams doing a fantastic job of managing to push up onto the enemy's base, take those crazy flank plays, distract, throw out specials in the ways that you really just make your jaw drop to the floor. I don't know. What is your big takeaway, Dark, yourself?
It's very hard to exactly say what went wrong here for Showtime, without like actually like going into that game again and rewatching it and looking at the nitty gritty of it here. There was a lot of good moments of Showtime that they pulled off against BLOODCLAT, and it's very interesting because I think both these teams are very neck and neck, but it showed at the end that something. BLOODCLAT picked up on something specifically from Showtime to able to abuse and able to have a good like hold near the end of that game and just able to keep them down for the remainder of that game. And so I want to try and get a closer look as to exactly what is happening here in this game number 2, Tower Control Ship Trade Cargo Company, between these 2 teams, to see exactly what is going on, because I generally don't see what we're wrong against with Showtime here, but it could be something major that I may have just been lost in all the chaos that was happening between all the fighting and all the back and forth trades.
No, for sure. I really want to point out one thing, though, that I noticed that match. The Wiper player, when Showtime was able to get their lead, they were able to get that big push that launched themselves towards the maybe like last 2 minutes or so of the match. That was the real catapult here. That's going to be the type of plays that we're going to have to look for Showtime as we head into TC shipshape. When it comes to TC, you don't have that static objective. You have to be willing to move across the map and take control of different spaces. And when it comes to shipshape in particular, those different snipes, those different hard to reach spots are going to cause a lot of issues if you're not going to be ready to necessarily have the tools to take care of those and really take that space up. But looking here, I think that Wiper may be just the tool Showtime needs in order to secure a win. I'm really excited to see what we pull out here.
Ooh, the ZF Charger definitely was not in my list of guessing here, but it seems that Showtime is very confident with what they've been running so far and are looking to stick through it to the very end here as we head to game number 2. Technically match point for BLOODCLAT here. If Showtime doesn't win this game here, they're going to be knocked out of this tournament at this late. It's going to be a little bit of a stingful loss for them here, but I have every faith in them that can at least take this game here. Showtime is already looking to get at least a few points on the board almost immediately.
Yeah, already at the start set, we see Showtime edging a little bit with the lead. They're able to get a few points on the board. That Hamburg doing a lot of great work, managing to push out members of BLOODCLAT from the pit. That's a really great entry area for the team if you're trying to gain space again. And this chaos, like, they're not necessarily getting the strongest lead overall, but they are getting enough chaos thrown out there where they're able to take a lot of space and throw off the members of BLOODCLAT.
It's very. I mean, it generally could swing in your favor here with just being able to keep BLOODCLAT off their toes throughout the majority of the game and be able to abuse of that. But it doesn't seem like they're going that well right now, as BLOODCLAT has now passed that first checkpoint, using Tri-Strikes to create some space so they can get to that second checkpoint. And that's when things start becoming really impactful here. But we see Mia with the wiper on the back end, going in with the hammer, trying to get any pick, one or two. But no, unfortunately, it does go down. The Zip Dancer goes on the far end, all the way up to the front line, to mid line here, as they're able to get one pick before finally recalling, and now BLOODCLAT's looking to try and snowball this into a knockout here as best they can.
Yeah, and snowball it. So far, they're doing a great job of that so far here, as this Stamper loving the plays and the movement and all the different chip they're putting out. This Zipcast are trying to capitalize off of it best they can, to taking out the S-Blaster. That's huge if you're on the side of BLOODCLAT, even though it's only the Stamper. Look at that again! All they have to do is just stall it out. All they have to do is make sure that Showtime can't get those specials up. That Booyah's going to be a complete denier of getting any concrete lead moving forward. And once again, oh, these plays. I love it, Dark.
Yeah, Spexal definitely is the MVP right now for BLOODCLAT, keeping Showtime down for the count for the majority of this game so far, going in and just keep getting pick after pick after pick. No, they haven't been able to actually properly regroup themselves, Showtime has, as they just keep getting picked off left and right with all this madness, all this chaos. BLOODCLAT's not wanting to let this game go. They're wanting to try and win this set here and now so they can move on to their next set for the remainder of this tournament. And with BLOODCLAT moving that tower all the way to the second checkpoint, and a beautiful snipe from Red Shoot here, it seems like it could be a very good possibility here.
Yeah, Bedshoot showing what their name kind of means there by being able to get some nasty snipes on the members of Showtime. And once again, we see the soda go up. We see the members of BLOODCLAT getting ready for this attempted counterplay from Showtime. The Booyah going up, but the members starting to trickle down a little bit. We see that mini go down. That might be a problem for Showtime if they can't get that bubble up to help secure a further push. But look at this control. Look at the Zap. Look at the Stamper, who are just skirmishing around. They're not necessarily fully committing to anything. They're just going in, poking. If they can get the pick, they go for it. It's somewhat non-committal, but it is working in their favor.
Yeah, weapons like that tend to be a bit more of a trying to figure out exactly when's the right opportunity spike to strike there, just slowly playing with the food before finally committing in for the killing blow here. So these kinds of fights are exactly what BLOODCLAT needs to try and keep up with. They don't want to keep Showtime down for the count for the remainder of this game here, but with only 1 minute 20 seconds remaining, Showtime is definitely looking to try and force themselves forward to try and make sure that they keep BLOODCLAT out and keep them at bay. And they're starting to do that. They're 2 down for BLOODCLAT. Showtime now moving in with the bubbler here to try and create some space for the tower, going on to that first checkpoint without too much contest here. They're seeing that BLOODCLAT's going to let it go, as they're going to be moving on to that second checkpoint where they really want to hold on for this game.
Yeah, and now it's Showtime's turn to try to show what they can do. We see the Wiper with the hammer up, and the Mini also with their own weapon in tow. We don't... Oh, they're trying to get the hammer play out. They do get the Zap down, but that's going to be a trade. That's not necessarily what you want to see at this point in the game, 40 seconds remaining, but nevertheless, Showtime doing what they can to hold the line. They do have solid control of the tower area right now. They're fighting the best they can. Bedshoot trying to deny the members of Showtime any more movement forward, but we do see them getting forced back a little bit as BLOODCLAT is taking great control of that pit.
Bedshoot is not being contested right now. We're just getting beautiful picks here left and right against Showtime here, and as time is going to be caught, we will be seeing an overtime scenario, and this is when things can become really stressful for Showtime. If BLOODCLAT can get onto that tower for at least a second, they're going to be able to take this game here, and with the GG strikes coming in, they're able to flush them out, and overtime is not going to be able to be called there.
Hold on, I just need that last verification from the video game. Oh, Showtime? Did they edge out the win? I think they pulled it off. That is extraordinary. Shoutouts to Showtime for managing to do that. The strikes must have just come out slightly too late, and the tower must have just had a little bit of a, you know, one of those silly tower moments where it just slides in. It just stays there a little bit longer than necessarily you'd like it to. And that was all they needed. A member of BLOODCLAT wasn't actually able to jump on the tower in time, and that's gonna be a 1-to-1 situation. This set isn't over, Dark.
saved by the bell. I was so focused on that tower and seeing exactly where everyone was scattering once those tri-strikes were hit and launched there that I didn't even look up to see the point counter, and that completely caught me off guard. That's gotta be a stinging loss here from BLOODCLAT, and they're raring to go. I can already see it, as they're already into this game number 3. Not wanting to linger too much on that last game. We're here, Museum Dolphonsino with Splat Zones. BLOODCLAT changing up a little bit more once again, as Showtime still sticking it with they've been through the majority of this set.
Absolutely. We see Mia the Wiper trying to get a good flank going. Unfortunately, going down to Messias, who does get a solid pick there, denying that flank play. And we're actually seeing trades on both sides. Members of each team, those Slayer-type players, they're trying to get that big play out. But so far, it's kind of just been a battle of the pencils and paint, as neither team has had that significant of a lead yet, although we do see BLOODCLAT with the most points on the board right now.
Yeah, BLOODCLAT, even though it's a bit of a messy fight from both sides here, BLOODCLAT has been able to at least leverage it to their favor and taking away a few extra points here. They're already down to 50 points remaining off of a single hole. That's very good on their end. And Showtime struggling to actually keep up with this tempo. Specials are being used, but nothing is being gained from the special usage here, as BLOODCLAT still keeps on going. There is a delayed wipe. There's only 30 seconds remaining from their zone. They gotta do something now, or else Showtime's as good as done.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that, Dark, but it's not over just yet. We do see some specials out on the side of Showtime. That Hammer, that Booyah are going to be big. And with these specials, we might see a last-second flip. Yes, we do. 2 members down on the side of BLOODCLAT, leaving only the Stamper in active play from what we can tell maybe so far. And this is going to be go time now for Showtime. They have to do what they can to get control of that spinner, or at least enough pressure where they can't comfortably get their specials up.
Yeah, that's a big mountain to try and climb if they want to win this game here. BLOODCLAT with only 3 points remaining on their side, even though they have hefty penalty points. If Showtime can't close that lead gap there, they're going to end up losing out this game if it goes even for the remainder of this game. So now things are still looking good for them on their side, though. 40 points remaining on their side before the zone is swapped here. Specials are being used left and right to try and take a hold of the space. With 3 down from BLOODCLAT means Showtime is still in business here as they maintain control over mid and retake the zone once again.
Yeah, and we're gonna those back and forth plays. That's gonna be what you maybe would like to try to avoid if you're on the side of Showtime. You want to make sure that you can do the best you can to get as many points on the board, and breaking through that penalty constantly, that's not necessarily going to be the most helpful thing at this point in time. But nevertheless, we do see the members of Showtime. They're back up again. They're all united together. They took out the pencil. The Stamper is down 2. The Bucket is down 2 from BLOODCLAT. That only leaves the Shot, who may be forced to do a jump here. They're fighting the best they can, really doing what they can. They got a member out from there as well. The Stamper, who unfortunately went down.
That's not a good pick there from BLOODCLAT. Showtime getting the impactful pick against the Stamper means that they're able to maintain control once again. Those 20 points are almost good as gone here as they're keeping BLOODCLAT down as best they can. Shing Strikes is used here to maintain control of the zone once again. Keep a little bit extra penalty points to Showtime there, but the damage is already being done. There's only 30 points remaining on their side. And I believe next time Showtime gets a hold here, they can definitely try and ride it out to the very end here. But with only 1 minute 40 seconds remaining, it's still a hard thing to say here. Now BLOODCLAT are almost done, halfway through with their 70 penalty points here, as Showtime are struggling to maintain control of it once again.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're kind of towards the end of the match here. You got 1.5 minutes left on the clock, but you only got maybe 10 seconds left on the in-game timer. That Booyah Bomb going out, getting more paint on the ground, the Pencil doing what they can to paint. 2 members going down on the side of BLOODCLAT. That's all you need, really, to get that cap over. But now, once again, it is go time. As we've been saying, and this is where you're going to have to really solidify control of the spitter, and that's what Showtime seems to also know as well. Really, like, almost everyone from the team is here, barring the Pencil, and now it's like, oh shoot, Dark, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, both of these teams are playing for keeps right now. It is do or die for either side. They do not want to go home at this point of the tournament. Showtime still maintain control of the zone here with only 20 points remaining. Tactical or online means that any picks on their side is going to be as impactful here. And 3 down for BLOODCLAT is a huge swing on their side. And I think that's going to be game, set, and match there for their side as they take the lead and take this game.
I don't know if I necessarily expected that, but you know what? Showtime showed up. They really were able to do what they needed to do at the very end of that set there, getting key picks, making sure that the members of BLOODCLAT were split up, that they couldn't necessarily confidently work with each other, and forcing them to situations where they couldn't wait for their specials to be ready. That was a really good showing from them.
Yeah, absolutely. They just also show that no matter what the game state is, as long as your enemy points isn't down to 0 or remaining, you are still in this. They play this out to the very end, not letting that huge swing from BLOODCLAT get to them, and they just stood their ground, played the best they can, and swung and took it back at the very end there. That I don't believe what I just witnessed there.
I don't think I do either, but you know what? That's the type of stuff you like to see, and honestly, that's been a theme of tonight's SOS too. There have been so many silly, crazy, beautiful, even upsets and plays from every team here tonight. Really love to see it, and you know what? Good, huge props to both teams tonight. Both of them played their hearts out. Both of them really showed what it means to be a great white bracket team. And overall, like, my jaw's still on the floor. I'm struggling to come up with the words.
I'm right there with you. I genuinely would not have guessed that's how that game would have ended there. Like, no disrespect to Showtime and no disrespect to BLOODCLAT either. That was like the last thing I was expecting there. Just a last minute. Oh, that was such an amazing thing to see in there. And both of these two teams, as you just mentioned, Omazin, both these two teams should still be proud for making it this far at the very least. BLOODCLAT, a little bit of an upset on your end for losing out this set at the very end, and Showtime, you're feeling a little bit good about yourself, feeling a little bit lucky for barely squeezing out that victory here. Now, as we move on into our next round, I do believe we don't have much downtime for our next match, as they're already waiting for us to get in there. So as we are here wrapping this first game up, we are going to be heading to our round number 2, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be Revival versus the Snowflakes?
It may be that, I believe, and overall, that's going to be quite the set. Looking here at Revival, we got players such as Harshi, such as Kiki, Crowny. They're some of those top players, right? So I'm really interested to see what sort of play we may see from both sides here moving into this set. But I mean, I don't want to necessarily diss the other team too. Like, really fantastic players from both sides: Ezio, Woomy, Nila, and everyone else in between as well. And overall, going on to Robo Rom and Splat Zones, I think that it's going to be kind of a similar situation as to what we saw on Mako at the beginning of this set, Dark.
Yeah, I love Robo Ramen as a whole. It is one of my favorite new maps that's come out since, I believe, my last favorite map being like Splatoon 2 era, which in this day and age is old man territory, but we don't talk about that here. No, but Robo Zones is very interesting. It shares a lot of similarities with Mako Mart in terms of there just being like a lot of different opportunities for a lot of different weapon types to really shine and really be used here. There really isn't necessarily a wrong answer here because of how versatile the map is. And specifically, the thing that I personally enjoy here is the underground route to the back line and to get around a lot of the mayhem in mid, in that top mid section. It's a very handy thing to try and use and try and maneuver around here. And I'll be pleasantly surprised and delighted to see if either of these teams use that underground route.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it as well. A lot of fun sharks can happen down there. I've had quite the few run-ins with stuff like rollers, be it your carbons, even your V rollers. Um, and that's always like a fun situation to try to work your way out of, puzzle your way out of. But going in here, I think personally what I'm hoping to see is like a fun Zipcaster pick or two. I think those sorts of weapons, although this isn't maybe necessarily the most perfect Zipcaster map, it's definitely fun to see how players choose to navigate the different routes that are available for them. And I mean, overall, just like the different like places you can shark that you can put out pressure. Like if you're a bucket, you can reach, for instance, like that bottom snipe area in that pit as well, where pens and other backlines typically like to sit, where typically they are safe, barring the occasional bomb or special, but a few weapons, they can cause some havoc for them, so I'm interested to see what comes out there as well.
Yeah, and I mean, on my side, I mean personally, will always champion a blaster pick of any kind. I mentioned it already in the last set that I'm a very big fan of blasters as a whole. My personal pick of blasters being the S blast. So seeing any blaster used at all, I will always be there because I always find it so fun just seeing how each player plays blaster differently, because there's to most people it may seem a little bit the same, but there is some of the more the delicate intricacies that I really love seeing in other blaster players here. And here blaster as well, like you mentioned that there's a lot of like different angles that the slosher and the buckets can take here, and it's relatively the same that blaster can take here, depending on the range. Anyways, you know, something like range blaster and S blast can definitely use their just like longer range to really poke and really just be a nuisance round and whatnot.
Yeah, agreed, absolutely. But loading into this next match here, I don't know. I think that the theme of this set is going to be who can cause the bigger explosions, kind of, right? Like who can cause those really big catapults into the other team. That was kind of a big theme with the last set too, with players like the Wiper, the S-Blast, the Stamper, who were all able to get those really big plays, like just even getting borderline team wipes on the other team, those triples, those quads. That's the type of stuff that you're going to need if you want to secure leads for your team. Obviously, you're not the easiest things to get, but when it comes to these team matchups here, that's going to be a really key important play that you're going to have to try to make if possible. So I think that's going to be important too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about this map specifically too that I always kind of forget about until I'm actually seeing it in action again is the fact that this map can kind of be a little bit of a lockout map. Once you get like you mentioned before, like a triple or a wipeout here, and if you know how to play your angles properly, you move up, you can absolutely keep your opponents locked out and keep them from being able to engage with you at all costs with good proper special rotation and usage here. It can be a bit devastating if you don't know how to break out that lockout here, and that's going to be something both these teams have to kind of watch out for, because everyone actually handles lockouts differently in terms of the people who are trying to lock out. You know, there's those who who will go literally right under your spawner and try and keep you at bay. There's those who use your range to keep your opponent or keep you just away and not let you get anywhere close to you or the area they're trying to get into. So it's going to be a question of how these teams are going to want to try and play out their lockout if they can get to that. Because if they can get to that lockout, I know for a fact that's going to be a heavy blow for either team.
Yeah, just the time it takes to really even get back to the zone, right? Like to even just confidently even maintain control over the zone if you do finally break out. That's a really hard penalty to pay, and like it's not even like an uphill battle. It's like you're at the bottom of a mountain battle, and it's a totally it's totally possible to scale that mountain, don't get me wrong. But it's also going to be a really difficult fight to get up at the end of the day. But I'm looking forward to what we see here. I can't wait to see what both of these teams pull out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know. I'm just eager to see exactly what's in store for us. I mean, we're in practically the semifinals here for Great White. These are the top of the top, near top of what this SOS has to offer this week here. And so I'm eager to see what exactly these teams have brought today to take them this far in the tournament. And as we see finally getting that map mode kickoff, we're going to see exactly who's going to be bringing what here in this first match from Revival versus the Snowflakes.
Absolutely, and we do see a couple of those crazy picks, right? That Dread Slasher going to be causing some of those funny Reef Slider plays. And also you got stuff like the Sea Blaster with its fantastic splashdown as well.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the match getting ended, though, a bit earlier than expected. We'll have to go ahead and see what maybe happened there, but I'm sure it'll be all fine and well and dandy.
Yeah, I really wonder what went wrong there, because I know it was the right map mode. I know that much. I saw with my own eyes the zone get taken right before that replay got requested there, but I don't know exactly what went wrong, because both teams seem to be actually getting ready to start and getting into it and getting to actually play out that match. So I wonder if it was like a matter of just, I mean, if it's a matter of one player being on the wrong team, I feel like that would have been an instant pop regardless, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that, but hey, maybe you want that few seconds of time to goof around and be a little silly regardless. Totally respect that. Apparently a player was AFK, according to our wonderful producer tonight. So, all good on that front. That will likely be that replay though, so fingers crossed you don't DC later on, I guess.
Yeah, to use a replay this early on something as trivial as an AFK is not what you want to see, but honestly in most often cases than not, most people aren't going to use that replay to begin with, so it's better to have that safety net for something as small as this, and rather than have to try and run through the headache of like actually playing a 3v4 for like the first minute before your homie finally gets back from whatever was holding them up for so long here. But no, it shouldn't be that much longer. It shouldn't be that much longer as we head into this this first game kickoff finally. But there was one weapon I was interested here that we saw from, I don't remember which team, but I did see the E leader come out, and that was a weapon that very much intrigued me.
Yeah, E-Leader, it's kind of like, I want to say a borderline forgotten legend in the Splatoon community. It terrorized Splatoon 2 and early Splatoon 3. Then once Pen got its big buff, a lot of people struggled to move off of it. So I'm really fascinated to see what this E-Leader player can pull off. I think it's a fun weapon too. Not necessarily the most fun to play against, but some of those picks, some of those montages, Dark, they're crazy.
I fear an E-leader because it's always feel like eight times out of 10 they're an E-leader who knows their weapon and who can actually montage you mid-game. And as we say that, Revival gets a wipe out against the Snowflakes throughout the game, and look at how fast they're moving in to get this lockout. As we mentioned here, depending on what you're trying to team up here and what your weapon comp is like, you could just be under the ledges here and just keeping them at bay.
Yeah, look at some of those jumps too. The E-Leader doing a great job of just holding space. It doesn't necessarily matter that they don't have the most paint themselves to put out. All you have to do is hit some snipes and just create that fear and pressure on your opponent. The Splashdown here doing a great job of following up with it as well. Lana doesn't have to even do too much overall. They just have to keep putting out that pressure, getting picks like that, right? Denying the opponent the ability to move up at all. And the rest of the players of the team, the Zap, the Gal, the Blaster, playing off of them fantastically. Woomy trying to make a desperate play to the zone alone, but going down. That's already the game, Dark.
I mean, what is there to say? Revival knew exactly what they wanted to do, exactly how to execute it, and they committed to the execute. Snowflakes had a hard time getting out of their own side of the map. Like, look how much yellow there is on the background here. Like, Revival knew exactly what to do there against the Snowflakes. I generally don't know what their game plan could have been. Not because that they were just a mess that I couldn't tell what exactly they wanted to do, but it was just the fact that Revival was keeping them down and out of the game for so long that I don't have enough information to even think about what their plan was.
I don't disagree with you there at all. I think heading into this next game here on Rainmaker Museum, though, I think a really good pivot for the members of Snowflakes could be to consider playing weapons that, you know, are able to like respectfully hold their own space confidently too, and just really zone out well. Stuff like the Dread Slosher, the Dread Ringer, are like fun, great weapons, but you do have to make some strong, very confident dives into the opponent in order to take up space. And if you don't have that immediate support from the rest of your team, or you have something like that E-leader, right, from the side of Revival, that's going to be a bit difficult to keep up the pace with if they just deny any more momentum you try to create with a snipe.
Yeah, like that either the pressure they're able to admit and the pressure they're able to actually execute on. There was a lot of good snipes from the E-leader player we saw over here on the Revival side to able to keep Snowflakes out for the majority of that game. That's something moving into the second game here you have to be very mindful about. And that's something I'm sure that this team is absolutely talking about here, trying to figure out exactly what they want to do and how they want to handle going up against these E-leader. And I mean, for all things considered, Revival doesn't actually have to commit to the E-leader here. Museum Dolphins, you know, on Rainmaker, it's a bit of a more closed and tighter map here, so the extra range really isn't that much impactful versus some taking just a regular like ZF Charger or something along those lines, a more traditional backline here. So it could be a bit of a mind game here if they think that they're going to bring their E-leader again, or if Revival wants to try and switch it up here and keep Snowflakes on their feet.
Yeah, agreed completely. And you know what? We're about to see that maybe just here heading to the next game of this set. Once again, Snowflakes versus Revival, with Revival leading 1-0.
That's the custom E-leader that we're seeing here.
C-leader, yeah, no, they're getting saucy with it. They know what's up, and honestly, the Kraken can be huge for just launching yourself forward if you need a few more points on the board, or at the very least, just creating massive distractions for your opponent. But we do see at the beginning of this game already the Gal going down from the side of Revival. That's a pretty huge play, actually, if you're on the side of Snowflakes. You want to make sure that certain skirmishers, certain slayers like that aren't going to be able to confidently move up. But unfortunately for Snowflakes, we are going to see them get wiped, and that's going to open up a push potential here for Revival to get that check.
First checkpoint is down and going on the deep end. The Sea Blaster does go in with the splashdown to try and take the space there, but unfortunately, the first checkpoint was just narrowly missed here. Revival has to actually broken through that first checkpoint. Yeah, with 2 players down, they're now backing up a little bit as Snowflakes is able to try and maintain control here in mid and flush out the remaining members of Revival, getting one here, potentially getting a second here. 2-for-2 trade on both sides, but the Rainmakers drop from Snowflake's side as Revival holds their ground here in mid.
Yeah, for sure, and we kind of already see kind of a tight game here, even though, you know, 60 points on Museum isn't necessarily the biggest lead, but stuff like that Reef Slider, that might be the difference maker for the members of Snowflakes if they're able to land a really clean one as well. But overall, we are going to see quite a few bombs land on the side of Revival. They are fighting really hard for this Rainmaker pop here. They will get it, but the Crab is going to deny them the ability to actually maintain control of the plat here.
Yeah, good special users from Snowflakes is denying Revival a lot of area here, but with a swing and a knockout blaster gaming here from Liam on the Sea Blast, they get a wipeout. The Rainmaker unfortunately is reset though. A good blessing from the Snowflakes for what could have been a disastrous, huge point loss on their side, turned to maybe just a slightly just slow down tempo pacing here as they lose 2 players down before Revival finally losing the Rainmaker here down in mid.
Yeah, that play was massive. That blaster getting really good picks across the members of Snowflakes, just denying them the ability to confidently hold down the plat. But now we see Snowflakes making yet another attempt to stall the Rainmaker get that pick. The Dread Ringer and the Doolies doing a great job of teaming up together to take out the Rain. Oh, a clean snipe there on that pen, denying Snowflakes the backline support that they probably really want right now. And once again, Dark, we're going to see Revival really putting out an amazing amount of pressure on the side of Snowflakes Splat.
Yeah, Revival, they have that first checkpoint down, while Snowflakes still has that first checkpoint to go. And honestly, at this point of the game, your game plan could be shifting from making sure to get as many points as you can to just stalling out Snowflakes for as long as you can. They have the lead here, and even if the Snowflakes does somehow managing to get that first checkpoint here, they still will be technically at the first lead until Snowflakes picks up that Rainmaker again after the initial dunk here. So they're choosing to back up a little bit here, give Snowflakes a little bit of space so they'll absolutely lose everything in this incoming pick here. Tries comes out and gets a pick here, but 3 going down for the Snowflakes team as they go down, and Revival holds their ground strong once again.
You know, even though Revival doesn't have the strongest lead right now, I do think they are actually playing this match fairly smart. They know that they can't risk it for the biscuit necessarily. They can't overcommit too hard. This crab actually, can we talk about that for a second? Why are they all the way over there? Why is the crab over there? How did that happen?
Genuinely was locked in, trying to see exactly what Revival stuff like going to be heading into next here. Now, next thing you know, I see the crab take in the back line of all places here, and Snowflakes is now 2-0 once again. I don't know what's happening right now.
You know what? I kind of hope we see that happen again. Not just because it was like really expected and funny, but because that actually created a good opportunity for Snowflakes to gain even just a little bit of paint back up in mid and throw off the members of Revival. And with such a narrow lead, that's actually exactly what you kind of want to see. All you need is to check in a couple points. It's really not that many. You can just take a little bit of a skip and a hop over that checkpoint, and you're in the lead with how things currently stand. About 30 seconds remaining. It's do or die time now.
Yeah, if there's an 8-point differential between these two teams, if Snowflakes wants to win this here, they don't need a knockout punch. They just need a good, solid hook here to end the game here. And as the 8 seconds remaining on this time, they're going to be trying to pick up this Rainmaker and run it into overtime. But no! Unfortunately, going down to the right, the Heat leader, as they deny Snowflakes the overtime credential, and they go up 2-0 in the set.
That E-leader pick was heartbreaking. Snowflakes, like it looked like they were about to do it. It looked like they were about to grab that checkpoint. The pen was lined up for the grab. The reef slider was going in towards a few members of Revival. It looked so clean and put together, but unfortunately, Revival was just a few steps ahead. They were prepared, they were ready, they knew what targets they needed to take out. Even if a few of them did go down to that reef slider, as long as they were in a position to pick up the Rainmaker, they just win. It's that simple. It's that easy. And that's what they played to.
It honestly speaks as well to the kind of mindset and kind of chaotic happenings that happens in games like this, where I genuinely forgot Revival had E-leader during those last few seconds there before they got shot down trying to pick up that Rainmaker for overtime. I genuinely forgot about that E-leader, and I know for the fact that if I forgot about the E-leader, I know at least someone from Snowflake's team forgot about the E-leader in that moment, because like you mentioned, they're gearing up for a very solid overtime push there. They're getting all their pieces into the right places so they can actually pull it off there. And in the madness of all of them trying to get everything put together, the E-leader's lasers pointing right at you. You can't do anything about that now.
Yeah, and I think with how like prevalent pen meta in particular has been too, it kind of E-leaders catch people off guard. People don't necessarily expect it quite as often. Like back in the day, people would expect it, I think, a bit more frequently because that's what the meta called for. But when it comes to this, where you have something as devious as that C leader, right? Like, that's gonna do just enough to throw off your opponent, potentially, and that's exactly what happened. All they had to do was hide behind that pillow, and, you know, it just came down to that, really.
It's genuinely good on Revival for playing it out like that way, just keeping your ear hidden away out of sight until the very moment you need that important snipe there. just a beautiful play on their side, and now they're sitting at a match point against the Snowflakes here. And they're not out of it. Yeah, the Snowflakes have shown that they do have the fighting power to go toe-to-toe with Revival here, but the pressure definitely is high here heading into this game number 3.
Yeah, game number 3, and and now it's really go time for Snowflakes here. We do see the Wiper pick the Dreadringer out once again with the shot and pen. They're really going to be looking here, I think, to take control of some of those sides and just get some great picks. And already we actually see some of that taking play. It's only the Blaster up, and this might be a quad. The Blaster does actually stay alive, a really good play, a really good trade actually. That's 2 down on the side of Snowflakes, and even though you did get nearly wiped there, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, a very good opening get from the Snowflakes, taking it away all the way down to that first checkpoint at the very least, giving you a little bit of wiggle room for your points here. But now Revival is setting up for themselves for a very solid push here. The E-Leader set up on the tower. That's got to be a monster that you got to be very much careful about here. But a good play from Melomania as they're able to keep that E-Leader out of there and try and reclaim the tower once again as Snowflakes takes mid.
Yeah, Snowflake's doing a great job so far this game of really just having a lot of strong staying power, playing those sides of the map, like I mentioned before. And when it's really going to come down to it, if they're going to want to get that strong push, like take a check or two, they're going to need to take out that leader, and Mello doing their best to try to get some control of the switchback. Unfortunately getting sniped by the leader, but they do take out that Blaster player. That's the splashdown gone. That's not bad.
Yeah, good picks here from both sides. Snowflakes are slowly pushing that tower a bit further and further. Rival is standing their ground here, and now they're trying to get at least even with the Snowflakes here as they get that Dreadringer out of here. Lana Del Rey on the tower with the dreaded E-Leader. The lead has been swapped here as they're contesting that first checkpoint. 1 player down for Revival. It could be a little bit terrifying here, but no, that first checkpoint's gone, and they're backing out with the crack and going into maybe get another pick or two before finally getting away here.
Yeah, even though 2 are down on the side of Revival, that Kraken's going to cause just enough chaos to throw some of the members of Snowflakes off, it seems. This amazing hammer from Woomy, though, doing a great job of taking out a member of Revival too. These staggers are going to be really important to carry momentum. If I'm Snowflakes, I'm going to keep wanting to try to do my best to get a pick or two as frequently as I can, not just for the sake of getting them, but for the sake of staggering the members of Revival.
What could have been a good swing there ends up just kind of falling apart for Snowflakes as they're contested at that first checkpoint once again, but Revival stands their ground, being a bastion of absolute defense and not letting them break through that first checkpoint here. And Snowflakes does get a 1-for-1 trade from the Dreadringer out of nowhere, where he actually escaped from that sticky situation there, and now coming in on the deep end with the hammer to try and create space for them. Unfortunately, does go out with another trade, and Snowflakes down 2 players once again. Revival just playing it safe here in mid, trying to make sure that they won't actually overextend here too much, but on the jump and getting the pick from Woomy and this Watano Wiper as they're trying to go on the deep end to see if they can convert it to anything else here before finally eventually going down potentially here. No! They get the gap and they get a 3-for-1 special! That's a delayed wipeout!
Yeah, that is indeed. That Wiper doing a great job of, even though not getting the pick super quickly, they did get it eventually, and that's the important part. And they stalled out too. They took members of the fight away from the tower and the objective. Unfortunately though, the Blaster saying no. A lot of energy coming out of that Blaster right now. But heading in here, it's once again constantly getting stalled. We're yet to see Snowflakes take more than 30 points off of their own tower run, and they're still yet to get that first checkpoint, Dark.
Yeah, things are looking very dicey here. We're in the final minute of this game. There's only about an 11-point differential, but that lead is going to get extended here as Revival is slowly pushing this tower forward and forward. Snowflakes are starting to stagger a little bit. 2 players down as they hit to that second checkpoint. This is when that snowball becomes an avalanche for them. Revival wants to try to end this game here and now. Snowflakes has to do something if they want to stay alive for a little bit longer, but they do get 3 down against Revival, staying alive in this game for a little bit longer. 30 seconds remaining. The damage has been done though. 25 points remaining for Revival Revival and Snowflakes have that mountain to climb if they want to win this game.
Yeah, quite the mountain indeed, and I think they might be able to pull it off. We do see a member of Revival going down that tap. That's going to be the Sodagon for them. That's a pretty important stall to get. They are going to have to get this Blaster and Gal out, though. We see the trade, that's just going to leave the Wiper left as they go down as well to the members of Revival. A jump going down as well. And that's going to be the set, Dark. 3-0 in Revival's favor.
Man, oh man, things were looking good for Snowflakes, but unfortunately Revival's just power here just kept them in place. Snowflakes had a lot of good things going on for them, but they were just unfortunately stopped again and again against Revival's own players and Revival's own just lineup and what they had in store for them, and it's an unfortunate thing to see. I saw the potential here, and I saw exactly what Snowflakes needed to do, but Revival knew exactly what they needed to do to stop that from happening, and it was such a good game to watch here, but it's gotta sting a little bit from the Snowflakes side.
I mean, they did put up a good fight, though, regardless. A lot of great plays there from the different members of Snowflakes, like that Wiper play that we were really popping off with earlier. Love to see energy like that. And that's the type of game-changing energy that you really want to help foster when it comes down to it. And as you play through tournaments like SOS and others, and as you just try to improve as a player and a team. So really good showing from the Snowflakes despite the 3-0. Really good effort, and congrats to Revival for winning this set and being able to move on to the grand finals tonight with Great White.
Absolutely, Snowflakes, you gotta be proud of yourselves for making it this far at the very least. You know, this semifinals in Great White, that's not something to scoff at. It's a very good showing on your end, and to be at least brought down by Revival here against Grand and heading into Grand Finals. It hurts a little bit, yes, but you got to be proud for what you've done at the very least. Both of these teams did an extraordinarily well job today, though, regardless of the outcome, and I am eager to see exactly what's coming next from Revival here. But I do believe we are waiting for our next set here. So before we get going, there is a little bit of an announcement here that I think almost care to take away.
Yeah, I can help out with that for sure. And here at IPL, we do want to shout out the LAN Championship Showdown, which is going to be taking place on April 27th. That's this weekend, everyone. It is here, and it is happening on Splatoon Tourney. We have 8 amazing teams who have all won their respective local LANs, who will be competing against each other for one big showdown. We have teams such as My Little Hunlo from Gatorland, Octub Hoodies from Chaishols, No Boys Allowed from Booyah Bay, Siku got kicked out from H-Town Splashdown, Prickly Pear from Sunset Surge, Glub Glub from Big Dapple, Z-Tier players from New Inkland, and Sea Bubbles from Sea Battle. A lot of fun team names here, Dark. Any thoughts yourself?
Tealers are always my favorite part of this community here. Is to see that just keep on remaining true in this day and age. From witnessing them all the way back to the Splatoon 1 days, you gotta love and see it. To love to see it though. But no, I do agree. This Saturday, April 27th, Sunday, April 27th. You see the times in front of you right here, 4 p.m. PT or 7 p.m. ET. Come here to Splatoon Tourney to see this LAN Champion Showdown. 8 of these teams have come this far to make it to this point in their journeys, but only one's going to be crowned the Grand Champion, so you don't want to mess out on that.
Absolutely. And I also would love to shout out just what a great highlight opportunities like this are for LANs across the country and even just kind of the globe as a whole. We've seen quite a few new LANs pop up. Of course, you've had stuff like LTC and Riptide, which are on the larger side. They're your majors. They're your big tournaments that everyone tends to flock to. But there's so many great things happening in the local scenes these days, whether it's Houston, Chicago, Miami, just all these different cities across the country that you don't necessarily see some of those bigger tournaments from. and they've all grown in their own respects. They've all created their own unique communities, and to be able to highlight this, it's really fun to see. It's really awesome to see, and we hope you tune in.
Absolutely. But with that being said and done, I do believe we have a little bit of a wait for our grand finals match. So I will say we'll be going on a quick break so we can refresh ourselves a little bit before heading to the big show here tonight, folks. So don't go anywhere just yet. Use the restroom, get your snacks, get your water. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back yet again, everyone, to Great White Finals, and we have quite the set tonight for you all with Revival from our previously streamed match going up against Drug Test Jovial in Ireland. Any Ireland fans in the chat?
I do wonder how much of the active community here is from Ireland, because surely with a name like this, all four of these players are from Ireland, in one way, shape, or form, right? Like surely.
It would be pretty awesome, I won't lie, if they actually were all from Ireland. But regardless, I can't wait to see what we got cooking here. Last set, which did not get streamed with Drug Test Jovial in Ireland, where they went up against Showtime, was a Game 5 set, a really close 3-2. So I think that we might see really two different situations here. We may see Revival continue to dominate and get a clean win in our grand finals, or we may see Drug Test Jovial in Ireland use some of that chaos that it seems like they were able to throw out last time and cause some bumps in the road for Revival. So I'm fascinated to see what's ahead of us, Dark.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you mentioned, almost in the drug test Jovial in Ireland, their last game was a 3-2. And so, in any way, shape, or form, that shows that there's some scrappiness to them, one shape, or way, or form of another. And we don't know the exact specifics of that 3-2. It could have been a reverse 2-3 sweep in favor for Drug Test Jovial in Ireland, or it could have been a back and forth trade, or it could be any sort of other way you could possibly absorb those matches in any way, shape, or form. There, it's hard to say that without seeing the full thing in front of us here, and so there's still that air of mystery between exactly what they bring to the table here. But we've seen Revival, we've seen exactly what they've done and what they can bring to the table, and I mean already I think one major thing here as our first game here is going to be Spaz Brine Water Springs is a big long-range weapon that Revival had played the last few games here that can be very impressive here and with the right positioning, and that is going to be the E-Leader.
Yeah, that E-Leader was a really huge playmaker for the side of Revival and just maintaining space. Like, you can get so much distance and range off of that weapon, and just the threat its presence puts out is really quite something. So when it comes to our Ireland team here, I think it's going to be important for them to really make sure that they deny that E-Leader if it does come out, its ability to hold that presence, whether it's through something like a Zuka, a well-placed grab, really anything. So, and when it comes to Brine Water in particularly too, there's quite a bit of havoc that a leader could cause if you let them get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, standing on your own ramp on your side of the map, you can pick off anyone from the enemy ramp on the enemy side of the map. That's how spawn tight this map is, and for most people with good reason, you know, they don't like this map mode specifically. I mean, the other part to this equation too that many people don't like about this map mode in specifically is the fact that the zone is also very small. It can be swung very easily. I believe with just a single strike, it could take a majority of the zone under your paint. And so with something like that, you got to be very mindful of the progress and how fast it can actually swing, and make sure you keep track of your painting power against your enemies, because you could genuinely slip away a lot of leads and a lot of penalty points in an instant because of how small that zone is.
Yeah, agreed for sure. But when it comes to these small zones maps, again, like you were saying, I think that this will provide kind of comps like what we saw earlier with the Snowflakes, for instance, in our previous set. Like, they probably thrive here a little bit better overall, I'd say. They're small enough where weapons like that hammer can be a bit more threatening if you do hurl it at a leader. Stuff like the Reef Slider can solo cap the zone if they place their sloshes ahead of time well. And really just all of these different weapons have a lot of different unique opportunities as well on maps like Brine Water. So I think this may be a potential weak point for Revival.
Yeah, it's this map is so finicky because you could definitely run away with a lot of this game, but as you mentioned, you could definitely there's some angles they can go around to take an okay amount of cover to try and tread the ground to try and be that annoying pest under the ledge what the E-leader might be hanging out on. Because believe it or not, one of the strongest points that the E-leader could be is also probably one of the most exposed points it could actually be sitting under. Because to get that perfect sight line between the other side of the enemy ramp, you gotta be low enough to the ground where it's something like a Slosher or a Blaster can absolutely poke you down if you aren't aware enough here. But with enough speculation out of the way, we're going to see exactly what these two teams are bringing here. Revival bringing what they've already thrown on the table, and a 10 umbrella coming up from Drug Test, Jovial, and Ireland. That's something I would have expected out of this.
Yeah, some interesting picks for sure, I agree. And you know what, I think that tent may be a pretty fun weapon to cook with. Unfortunately, they do go down at the very beginning. The Wiper trying to play off of them best they can, going down as well. And here's the leader setting up like we were talking about. They do actually go down to the pen. Right as they say that, funny enough, commentators curse.
I mean, with the size of the map as this is, Pencil probably has what's it called? Has a lot better time here than most other backline, a lot with the longer range backlines because of the tight areas that there is. Your reach is effectively almost the same as theirs in terms of effectiveness and whatnot. So Pencil definitely taking away a lot of ground here, trying to be the agent of chaos to try and keep the ground. But no, the E-leader just swings their laser and instantly pops the Pencil, and momentum is swung into a rival's favor, at least a little bit. But Drunkness, Jovial, and Ireland is running away with the points. Only 40 points remaining on their side.
Yeah, only 40 points remaining indeed, and despite everything, despite the placement of the Scowl trying to distract members of Ireland, they just have been holding the zone, and we do see it get a bit more contested here, but this pen dark, they have been doing a fantastic job of painting the zone. Like, we only just now saw it flip, despite how long that was really staggered for, how long that fight went for, and despite everything, like, we do see that wipe on Ireland. They're still up. They're still fighting.
Yeah, that Pencil is definitely doing a lot of heavy lifting on Ireland's side here, but with the zone and Revival's control here, they're looking to try and keep them out at bay for as long as they can. The E-leader, huge pick on the E-leader going down as Ireland's going to move in very quickly here with the tactical or with the hammer, goes in, takes his zone immediately, and looking to try to flush out the remaining members of Revival here. Ireland trying to use whatever tools they can to get those picks here. One trade here on the left-hand side in this pit here, and zone's still under their control here with 30 points remaining on their penalty points. It's not a lot of penalty points. Those could slip away in an instant with how this game has been going.
Yeah, agreed completely. And oh, you know, picks like that bomb on the wall, that's not what you want to see if you're a Revival. And Ireland here, they just have to make sure they don't go down that leader. That leader is going to be the difference maker here for Revival in enabling a push. All they need to do is get that pen out, maybe get that splash out, and they'll be cooking here. But no, we see that blaster go out. That's not good either. They got that splash down. They can do a quick zone flip, and that's not an available tool anymore.
A lot of fighting on the zone here, finally going into Revival's favor as they take the point, giving another heavy penalty points to Ireland here. And a beautiful jumping shot from Lana Del Rey on the E-leader as they get another pick. Ireland now struggling to push up on their ramp here. Penalty points are almost good as gone from Revival's side here. It's supposed to be being used from Ireland to try and take the zone once again, but no, there's a lot of happening at the same time. Having trouble keeping up with everything that's being happening here on the screen, but zone is being trying to contest it. You're 2 down from Revival. Ireland moving in to try and finish off that zone, and that they do, giving the penalty points back to Revival's side as they have tactical online.
You know, at this point, if I'm Ireland, I'm going to be trying to do stuff like that Wiper's doing. Unfortunately, they did go down, but we don't have to push up that far necessarily. We just have to be enough of a problem, a little bit of a pain in the back for Revival, that they can't get that E-leader in a comfy spot that will you know, take out our pencil that will just look at the entire map and threaten us like that right there with the tent going down. So really, I think it could still be anyone's game here.
Oh, absolutely. There's only a minute left remaining here on this game. Revival holding the ground as best they can to make sure they can at least get to their punny points.
Oh.
But no, a beautiful throw from Jay with the hammer as they take the zone once again. Even though they're 2 players down, Arlen's holding strong here in mid, but unfortunately the zone does go down once again. Punny points are still on the board for Revival as they're trying to make sure they can keep Arlen down and out of count for as long as they can here. 2 players down from Arlen means that Revival has the player advantage here in mid, heading to these final 20 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. Only 20 seconds necessarily available, and that's the points are ticking down. Revival doesn't have a penalty anymore. The Splashers up here, they're getting pushed back. But despite everything, the leader and Zap are actually down on Revival's side, and only the Gal's actively up, and that's a zone flip, a clutch zone flip in fact. And this Hammer doing the best they can to stall out more members, and that's actually going to be the game in drug test, Jovial in Ireland's favor.
I just those last few seconds were such a scramble. I think Revival was starting to panic a little bit with how split they were. Arlen was able to cause enough chaos, enough distraction that they were able to send only 2 players to contest the zone at the very end there to keep it and put it back into their name and keep it in control for long enough for time to be called and for them to win the game. Revival was so close to actually running away with that game, but Ireland just managed to just out chaos with everything was going on and win that game.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, I was speculating at the very beginning of the set before it started that we may see a little bit of chaos come out, especially with how that Game 5 set went last time. And we're already seeing that energy here once again. Drug Test, Jovial, and Ireland doing a great job of making sure that key players like that E-leader can't necessarily comfortably stay up for too long. And really just getting in surprising, shocking places behind different members of Revival here. And stuff like that's going to be important. You don't want to necessarily wipe yourself by doing those plays, but you do want to make sure that you keep that energy up and keep the members of Revival on their toes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And now we see exactly if they can keep their game plan going up here, or if Revival's going to make the adaptations that they need to come up against Ireland's own chaotic gameplay here. Heading into Tower Control, Inkling Art Academy, a bit of a standard try and true in the competitive scene. Many players have played this map for so many matches and sets throughout the years, heading all the way back to the Splatoon 2 days, where even then it was a very popular map mode back then. So I'm eager to see exactly how these 2 teams are playing it around here in this scenario.
No, for sure. Inkblot being another one of those classic maps you see quite often, and I think it's really going to come down to who can take control of those bats, who can keep making some of those sneaky flanks and just getting behind you when you least expect it. And that energy so far seems to be on the side of Ireland here heading into this next set.
Oh man, I want to see more Ireland to do more just creative, wacky stuff here. I hope that they do. It looks like both these 2 teams are sticking with their guns. Nothing too major changing on either side. Really, the only major change is Lana Del Rey finally foregoing the E-leader in favor of the pencil.
Yeah, that pen pick kind of says a lot here. They know that they have to keep that pain up a bit more in order to help prevent some of those flanks from being as easy to make. But once again, we do see that tent playing off of their Slayer and Skirmisher players, getting key attempts at picks. It looks like the members of Revival actually were able to successfully wipe out Ireland, and this pen here just doing everything they can to paint and getting their cooler up in no time at all.
Oh, Absolutely. Cooler up online once again. Ink Strikes coming in to try and maintain control here to the second checkpoint already down. An interesting jump in from Lana Del Rey. He goes unpunished, surprisingly, here as Ireland is struggling to maintain control here on their own side of the map. That second checkpoint is gone, and this is when the danger zone can really start to kick up the heat. The point of no return is starting here, folks, as Revival is heading to that third checkpoint. Uncontested Tri-Strikes coming in yet again to try and maintain control here. Third checkpoint gone. They're moving out to that tower with only 5 points remaining. Ireland throwing everything they can to maintain tower control, but at the time being, as it's slowly moving back to the enemy side of the map once again. But no, that was such a dangerous situation there for Ireland.
Yeah, really it is, and it took certain weapons and specials like the strikes and the tent in order to even, like, flirt with the idea of pushing out the members of Revival from Ireland's base, but nevertheless, really solid showing from them. They are able to take out the splash there. That's a strikes gone from Revival. That's pretty big, and able to actually move up and get a stronger push on your team. And really here, they're gonna have to. If I'm Ireland here, I'm gonna be wanting to play the sides of the map more. I'm gonna be wanting to really drag as much attention as I can away from the tower. Make players like that pen look away from the tower. Get paint as in your color as much as possible around the objective.
Yeah, Revival has shown that they have a very good grouping team fighting power here. So it's Ireland's job here to make sure they can spread them out as best they can. But an unfortunate wipeout on their side means that Revival is able to take that tower once again and slowly march it back to where they just were. A huge swing on their end. 5 points remaining on their side, while Ireland only has 1 point just scored on their end. Things are not looking good here, especially with tactical online from Revival. They're going in on the deep end to try and get any picks necessary. 1-for-1 trade here on this on Bats goes in favor from Revival, as they did have tactical online at that moment, and Revival's not wanting to slow down just a bit. They're slowly inching it forward even further, but Ireland's still barely hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah, they are, Dark, and they're going to have to get the members of Revival out of their bats once again. So far, it seems like they do successfully do it, leaving only the Splash Up, who does also go down. That's going to be a wipeout on the side of Revival, and this is going to buy a little bit of time for Ireland to move up. We already see this tent player here trying to move up. They popped the Zuka a little early, but hey, that may be some free picks for you, unfortunately going down. And the rest of the members of Ireland are going to have to do what they can in order to get this tower slowly but surely up.
Yeah, Ireland playing it a bit slow and steady here to make sure they get a proper push before things spiral out of control. Revival trying to make sure they can get that first pick here. A beautiful pick here by Lana Del Rey, is able to flip things into their favor, but 1-for-1 trade here. The Blaster going down and the Gal going down. 2 players down for Revival, but Ireland does not know that is not able to convert that too much of anything here, but they do manage to get a good, huge few couple picks here from Jay with the hammer, and now things are starting to look onto their side once again. That first checkpoint is probably going to go down here at any moment, as they're able to use Ink Strikes to try and maintain control for at least a little bit of Revival, but unfortunately it does go down here. 2 now for Revival, because Ireland is able to maintain control of the tower and keep things going, but no, Lana Del Rey takes 1 before finally backing up.
Yeah, Lana Del Rey doing a great job on the pen here. Despite not having that E leader anymore, they have been able to consistently get key picks, consistently get paint out for their team. And the Soda, unfortunately going down to Jaylee here on the hammer, but this wiper play, this is going to be important. They do take out the blaster. That's a key pick. That's a splashdown and gone once again. And really, it's going to come down to who can just stay up the longest, really.
Yeah, there's just so much back and forth between these two teams. A good pick here from Liam on the custom blaster, and there's only 9 seconds remaining here, and Ireland has to make sure they can stay on this tower for the remainder of this game if they want to try winning out here. There's only about a 39-point difference between these two teams, but no one's contesting that tower, not even Ireland, and as time's called with no one on that tower, that's going to be game 1-1 on both sides. We're in for a long haul, folks.
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate end there. I would have at least liked to see them hopefully maintain control of the tower and do their best to push it up a little bit more, but you know, stuff happens. You don't always necessarily get the checkpoint or the objective when you best need it, and hey, if you're Ireland, you got this still tied up against the #1 seed. You got a chance here to still do what you can to lock out the set
Mhm.
before a game 5 scenario even. So Barnacle and Dime Clan Blitz is up next. This is quite a bit of a different theme for what we've seen earlier. It's a relatively larger map. But it's also very wide. There's not a lot of like nooks and crannies to necessarily confidently move through, which may provide opportunities for those backlines to really shine here in a way that we haven't seen yet, Dark.
Uh-huh. And I'm just realizing now too, I think this is our first clanless game we're seeing on our block tonight. Everything
you're
else has
right.
been zones and tower control or rainmaker. We have yet to see clanless of any of these teams on our end here. So it's gonna be a surprise to see exactly what these two teams will be going. I mean, especially on Revival side, the last block the last match we saw on their side was Revival versus or I'm already forgetting the team.
Snowflakes, yeah.
Snowflakes, yeah. It's been a long day for me. I'm sorry, folks.
Oh, you're all good.
Yeah, no, I'm eager to see exactly what their mode might be here. Can we see the either come back, or are they going to stick with the pencil here? Is Ireland going to try and change things up a little bit here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we might see that pencil stick around. I think that Revival has figured out that playing certain weapons like that E-leader are unfortunately a little bit of, I don't know, it's a little bit of a weak spot for them. They can still get out a similar amount of pressure with the pen. Obviously, they don't have the same amount of range. Obviously, they can't get, you know, those crazy flicks, those crazy snipes as cleanly as before, as they have to get multiple taps on, but it's really going to come down to who can just stay up the longest and last the longest against a team like Ireland here, and it's going to be a big theme, I think, heading into this next game.
And as we're waiting for this kickoff here, we're seeing exactly what these two teams are going to be sticking to. Revival sticking with their guns, and Ireland also sticking with their... Nope, I'm sorry, that is a Sorella Brella on Ireland's side.
You know, sticking to their guns in a way that they're sticking to what's true in their heart, Dark. And you know what? Let them cook. I think it's fun. I love to see fun picks like that. And you know what? It's so far, it might already be working out for them a little bit. We do see them holding solid control of the map so far. The tent here doing their best to maintain that plat. They do get a solid jump out. That's actually kind of big. You don't want to go down yet. Unfortunately, they do go down to the pen. But hey, it's not over just yet. We do have strikes coming out. You do have some defense.
Yeah, definitely going to put on the defense here, Ireland, as that clam basket is popped wide open and get a few clams are deposited there. And I'm sorry, a power clam additionally on top of that, bringing it out to 57 and counting. 51 points remaining on their side. They're keeping this going. Revival's not wanting to let this go at all. They want to strike fast and hard before Ireland can actually try and pull things back to get on their end here. Liam trying to fight for the life here to get potentially a pick, any pick here, but no, unfortunately does go out. And in the midst of all that process, 36 points remaining. A few extra power clams were deposited into the basket, but now it is finally closed. Revival loses one player as Ireland is now trying to retake mid and see if they can get their own push going.
Yeah, they are going to try to do that. We do see one down on both sides. The splash down on the side of Revival. That's some big paint to lose out on. Unfortunately, this blaster, though, for Drug Test Jovial in Ireland is going to just really hold solid control of their plat. The Sorella Brella doing their best to just try to get them distracted enough, but Ireland's not able to move up in time quick enough, and it's going to be a big stall here.
Almost narrowly falling through that grate there, saving themselves before utter destruction to happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be amounts to too much with much of anything. As Revival 2 down, Ireland now trying to get ready for their own push. A good, lucky shot here from the Trizuka means that Ireland potentially has the opportunity to get that power clamp into the basket and get a huge cash in. Tri-strike coming for the push in here, and they do get one. Can they get another? Lana Del Rey does go down. That is another impactful pick as they're going to go in and try and keep this power clamp basket for as long as they can. Ireland now, one player down, both sides, one player down, but Revival seems to recover faster than Ireland did here as they get Ireland out of there.
Yeah, look at that big difference there. Revival, 2 members joining together on that rail, just jumping into the fun, jumping into their plat where that tent was positioned, and it's it's a pretty big difference there. Ireland, though, doing their best to just stay up, stay in some of those nooks and crannies. One of them does get found by that blaster, but we do see strikes out from the side of Ireland. This blaster, though, doing what they can to try to stall, but they do go down to that inkjet. A great inkjet play indeed. And this may be another push from the side of Ireland shortly.
Yeah, Ireland definitely fishing for that push here, using the right specials at the right time to try and get a push going here, running into maybe a little bit too early as Ireland loses their lead player and now down another player. That push is slowly crumbling away. Revival holding their ground strong and keeping Ireland out of there. 1 minute 30 seconds remaining with a huge push from Revival's side. They don't need to try and attempt to push again. They can absolutely cruise this out to the remainder. There's only 30-point differential. That's gonna be a hard thing to try and get through with that stack with the penalty points, but Ireland needs to try and actually get through this if they want to try and get another game on their side.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, Ireland was able to get a solid push earlier. I think they definitely could make something happen again. The Gal going down on the side of Revival, that's a big play. They just have to make sure this blaster doesn't do too much damage, and they don't. The Sorella Brella, getting a great pick there, trying to also stall out this jump. Unfortunately, that jump just so happens to be the blaster coming back with a vengeance with that splashdown, and now they're behind. They do go down it again, but that's a solid stall. That's a solid distraction if you're Revival. That may be enough time to prevent a lead from the side of Ireland, but hey, there's still clams to be had.
Ooh, in the midst of that though, Ireland comes in with the big swing to get the leads off, and now they're looking to extract as fast as they can. Make sure they don't lose control of mid here, but no, going in for a little bit extra. The greed running high here for Ireland as they lose 2 players for that slight extension on their lead. It's only about a 17-point differential now in favor of Ireland here, but they are going down players left and right. Revival not wanting to take that lightly as they already got the power clamp at the ready here, as 10 seconds remaining with tactical online. We might see the overtime here as Revival plays it slow and steady to try and win it here and slaw Ireland out.
Yeah, that stall is going to be really important. We do see a ball go in from the side of Revival. A lot of points on the board, and that's actually the lead. That's the lead. I didn't expect that to happen, to be perfectly honest with you, Dark, especially that quickly.
I was so off put by how fast they were able to act on that. Revival out of nowhere gave the 1-2 out of here swing against Ireland, just taking the way that game from them right under their noses. I can't even process all that happened within those. I think I was like 5 seconds there.
It felt like they just walked up and threw in their balls and their clams and just called it a day. But hey, I mean, if it works, and props to them for that. But that's going to be a match point now with Revival leading here. And I mean, if it's anything to go by, this has been a really close set, Dark. I think we could maybe still be in for a game 5, but nevertheless, really good showing so far from both teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree on with how these games have been so far. It could still genuinely be anyone's game. Ireland has shown that they can fight back against a Revival, but there's still some things that are going on there, and that Revival is winning out these games here from these last 2 ones here. And now sitting at the match point, this is when things get really dicey for them. They have no more lifelines. This is it for them. If they lose out here, they're just gonna be having to accept the second place here in Great White SOS. This is gonna be a very, at least in my opinion, this will be a very stressful game. But honestly, considering Ireland's last set, though, going 3-2 against against their last opponents here, this could actually maybe be the environment they want to be in, and probably might be the thing they're planning for.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I think also when it comes to stuff like Rainmaker, Humpback, I think that you typically tend to see some of those more chaotic plays here. It can get very snowbally very fast. And with what we've seen from Revival last set, it felt like it was super back and forth, and then suddenly at the very end, genuinely out of nowhere, it was just a big explosion of energy and points on the board too for them that resulted in the lead. And if we see similar efforts and energy from them in this upcoming game, it may be a good closeout for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say right now. Revival has shown that they have like a lot of consistency over Ireland, but one of Ireland's strengths is just being able to just roll with the waves and move with the chaos and use it to their own advantage here. And so heading into this match point, game number 4, this is going to be a true test for Ireland, see if they can actually get things going back under their wing here. And an interesting lineup here from a Revival. Not only do we see the 96 Deco, but we see the Rapid Blaster coming out.
Yeah, that Rapid Blaster, a fun pick, and you know what? I think Vac cooks. I'm a Vac believer, but when it's going to come down to it, we're going to have to see how they choose to play it. The members of Drug Test Jovial in Ireland have quite a few weapons in their arsenal that may be able to cause enough havoc for that Vac to not maybe be as useful as they'd like, but heading in here, we do see members of Drug Test Jovial in Ireland going down. It's not been the most cleanest of plays from either side yet, but it's going to come down to who can just stay up the longest.
Yeah, both these two teams are still playing out the neutral game, playing this constant game of footsies, but it seems that Revival has finally figured out Ireland as they go 3 down, now running in to try and get this Rainmaker into place as fast as they can. The Rapid Blaster Kiki going in on the far end to try and make that space needed for that Rainmaker to not only dunk it, but potentially get additional points off it, but the Trizuka comes out to keep that Rainmaker pop at bay and potentially look for another pick before finally going down. That's an unfortunate loss here as Cricket goes down from Ireland. That Rainmaker is going to pop, and with the Kraken, they're definitely going to be able to get additional points here.
Yeah, that Vac able to actually stall out and absorb the entirety of that Reef Slider. I don't think I've ever actually personally seen that before. But hey, that's the type of clutch plays you need in order to, you know, propel yourself forward, get more points with the Rainmaker. And it's going to come down now to Drug Test Jovial in Ireland. Are they able to put out a similar amount of energy with stuff like their Inkjet and their Reef Slider and their Zuka? I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. We're only 2 minutes into this game, and even though Revival has a huge swing on their side, 60 points remaining on a single push, it could still be anyone's game with how these last 3 games have been for both of these two teams. Ireland's definitely not out of the counter yet here, as they have the Rainmaker possession once again, trying to go in here to get that Rainmaker dunk to the first checkpoint, but no, 3 going down. That's disaster for Ireland, and that's a delayed wipeout.
Yeah, a delayed wipeout, which is going to provide Revival the opportunity to move up to try to get some more points on the board even if they choose. But if we see another Vac play like we did earlier, it could be curtains for Drug Test Jovial in Ireland, but all they're going to need is a well-timed Inkjet and Zuka.
Going in, just only getting 1 additional point this time around. Revival definitely don't want to let this momentum go. Ireland now in the danger zone if they want to stay alive for a little bit longer. Match point, and this says on the line here, but with the Rainmaker pop and going in with a fast play, they're going in with only 1 point remaining on the Revival side. Ireland's barely hanging on a thread with 2 minutes remaining. That's not a good scenario to be in.
No, it really isn't. But notice this Rapid Blaster here. They, instead of choosing to try to dive for that Rainmaker or get a play in some form, they just chose to just stay back and make their presence known like, hey, don't mess with me. I'm over here, but I will chip you slowly and make sure you get splatted. And they were able to provide some jumps for their team members by doing that, which has allowed Revival to keep control of mid despite everything. And it's still going to be an uphill battle for Drug Test Jovial in Ireland as they look to even just get the checkpoint.
Yeah, generally right now, Ireland, the only way Ireland wins this is with a final knockout with that Rainmaker. There is no other option. If they try and tie with that 1 point remaining, they'll be stuck at 2. So Ireland needs to make sure they're in the position to get a full-on final knockout here, and this may be the opportunity here to at least get that first checkpoint out of the way here, but Rainmaker is lost once again. 3 down for Ireland. Revival just too much for them right now here in mid, as there's only 50 seconds remaining. They got to do something here now if they want to stay alive in this step for a little bit longer.
Yeah, and with 45 seconds on the board, we do see a few specials up on the side of Ireland. They might be able to make something happen here, but we do see members of Revival like the Kraken here able to get key picks on that Dreadringer, on that shot, on that Brella. Oh, that's not good if you're Drug Test Jovial in Ireland. That Kraken just kind of ripped away a lot of specials from you, but hey, this is still going to provide an opportunity for maybe one last second push.
Yeah, time has not been called yet. Down 2 down for Ireland, 2 down for Revival here, but Revival seems to be in the driver's seat here, trying to keep Ireland out of the game here. But with only 3 seconds remaining, the last remaining player for Ireland down for the count. Revival is gonna able to win this game 3-1 in Great White, making them your champions here for this week's SOS.
Yeah, Revival really showing their strength here these past 2 games, especially. Closing out a solid 3-1 win in our Great White Finals. But man, let's just talk about like all that power they were able to put out that last match. Like the Vac, look, like Vac can cook. I'll say it here first. I'll own it. Like you can at me if you want. Vac can cook it. Like look, it was able to absorb the entirety of a reef slider. That could have been a wipe potentially on the side of Revival, which would have allowed Ireland to get their own push. But that just all got absorbed and canceled out. They were able to get their own big push. That's huge, and that's the sort of plays you have to make if you want to close out a win in a set, especially when it's at match point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Revival knew exactly by the end of the second game, Revival knew exactly what they needed to be doing against Ireland, and they stuck to it for the majority of the game. And with the final 4th game here, they managed to bring out a bit of a switch up and just keep Ireland off their toes, not letting what has been expected of them thus far, and just use that sort of just off-putting chaos to their own advantage in putting Ireland down, finally bringing them down here. 3-1 Revival against Drug Test Jovial in Ireland. That was a good set, and man, oh man, Drug Test Jovial in Ireland, you gotta be proud for at least making it this far and at least going toe to toe against Revival.
Yeah, no, there were really fun skirmishes and fights between both teams throughout these games here of our final set, and big shout outs to all players tonight. Really good showings, really great plays all around, and look, we even had some fun cooks too, whether it was that back, whether it was the different changes from the Slayers and the backlines. It was really fun to see what everyone was able to bring out, how they were able to shine in their own respective ways. So yeah, I completely agree, Dark. This was a fun set.
Unfortunately, as fun as this set that was, this will be our last set of the night, and that wraps up SOS for this week. A huge shout out for Revival for winning tonight here in Great White against Drug Test Jovial in Ireland. Both these teams did an extraordinary job, but extra shout out to Revival for winning it here and taking it. What a set that was, and what a block that was. A good showing all down from all the teams we witnessed here tonight, and it was a good night, and that's all I gotta say here. But as we're wrapping up here, folks, one final shout out to an upcoming special tournament on Sunday. It is our LAN Champion Showdown. We mentioned this earlier here, and we'll mention this again. 8 LANs have been fighting it out for these past few months, and now there's only 8 teams from these 8 LANs here. And Sunday we'll see who will be the champion from out of these 8 teams. Will it be My Little Henlo, Octopuddies, Mo Boys Allowed, Secret got kicked out, Prickly Pear, Glub, ZT tier players, or C Bubbles? Tune in on Splatoon tourney, and we'll see exactly which one of these 8 teams will be crowned their LAN champion.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is gonna be one you don't want to miss. Really gotta emphasize that. You do not want to miss what's going to be going down over on Splatoon tourney this weekend on April 27th at 4 p.m. PT and 7 p.m. ET. The best of the best from across the United States are going to be competing against each other. It's going to be such a good showing. It's going to be so fun. You don't want to miss it.
Oh yeah, history will be made here. Nothing like this has been put together so far, and so you have to show up to see exactly what happens here, because I know I definitely will be. But man, oh man, that is gonna be it for us here. One more time, Land Champion Showdown this Sunday at Splatoon tourney. You don't want to miss it. But with that being said and done, that's gonna wrap it up for us here, folks. Almost anything else you want to add or plug in as we say goodbye?
Not too much more to add from my end, but hey, if you all want to see what I'm up to, you can check out the CCA Splatoon socials or our Discord. We got our own grand finals coming up this weekend, so you're absolutely not going to want to miss that either. But as for myself, you can find me on Blue Sky at just Omazen. And yeah, what about yourself, Dark?
Well, you can find me on most social media websites at SPF Dark or SPF_Dark. One of the two. It's inconsistent with what websites keep the or allow the underscore or not. But more often than not, you'll most likely hear me time and time again on the microphone, either here in IPO or other organizations like Dow Productions, Splatoon Tourney, or even CCA on a relatively weekly basis. So you hear me most likely time and time again there. But with that being said and done, that is a good ending to tonight's SOS and a good ending overall. And folks, have yourselves a good one.